I know. Other than say every city has.
That's probably true.
I'm retired there.
Of your time.
Couple minutes. Talk about that. No.
We moved this 3 years of service and 3 new employees. Because of one of my new employees, he had moved. This is the third time. She forgot she was on the, then she was on vacation. And then we reminded her this morning. And she said, well, when do I have to be back? And I'm going, but she's got 2 minutes and still hasn't showed up. Yeah.
Substituted. And she's not. Is she back there?
Maybe ready.
Oh, there she is. You didn't have her. She's making a wonderful.
You want to grade me?
Just Marin, we'll sit with Marin. You two can sit together.
I've never seen Curtis dressed up for an occasion.
No.
I like it.
I've got since I'm not representing since I've got to speak not as the treasurer, but for the national, the state and national organization.
You didn't put the suit jacket on?
No, not in this one.
I need a fork.
Brandon, response to your message on the thing I sent you, this is how much needs to be to finish up those projects. Yeah. Yeah.
We'd like to begin now if we can.
Make sure that we have additional, because like auxiliary.
We'd like to welcome everyone to the South Weaver City Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, July 26, 2022, and it's 6:01 p.m. We'll begin with the pledge by Councilman Dills and then a prayer by Councilwoman Petty.
Well, stand, repeat after me. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we are so grateful to be gathered together today as a community to discuss the needs of our beautiful city, and are so grateful that we're able to live in this beautiful valley. We ask a blessing upon all of our firefighters, our police, and all our military that watch over and protect us. And we ask a blessing of safety and protection upon them. We're so grateful for them and their family members for the sacrifice they make on our behalf. At this time, we ask a blessing that we'll be able to have open hearts and open minds, to have open discussion to meet the needs of our community as best as we can. We are so grateful for our country that we live in and ask for our freedoms to be maintained. We are grateful again for our beautiful city, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Got a large crowd here tonight. Appreciate everyone's attendance. We're going to begin this meeting tonight with public comments.
Paul, they need those seats.
If you've got comments that you'd like to make, we'd ask that you come up to the microphone, state your name and address, and realize that you are limited to 3 minutes, and the council will not respond to your remarks. So we'll open for public comments.
Is the green light on? Is the green light on?
Okay, well, I came up with the recognition portion of this agenda tonight, but I have never made public comment before, never been on this side of the dais, and thought I would take this opportunity to speak for just a moment. First of all, Councilman Halverson, Councilwoman Petty, Councilwoman Albert, Councilman Soderquist, missed you guys. I really enjoyed serving with you, and that goes also for all of our staff, guys and gals, great people. And Mayor Westerick, Councilman Dill, thank you for your service. I did want to report that our pickleball courts are being well used. Every evening they're completely full, and in the mornings they also have a good number of people using them. I received a note from a resident that said, on Monday night, our family went down to the new pickleball court to play. Every court was full, and we and another group of 4 had to wait for a court. There were young kids, teenagers, families, and grandparents playing. It was so great to see and experience. So good to see the residents of every age and ability using this new court. Right, Andy? Yep. Okay. I wasn't going to bring up this subject or say anything about it, but I know there's been some complaints, and I know that the council is strongly considering moving the ago, one council member, not me, proposed putting in a digital sign for a great deal, nearly free. The advertisements of heaven knows what were 80% of what would be on that digital sign, and then the city business would have 20%. I think it might have been even lower than that. When I came on the council 6.5 years ago, I knew it was enough hard work. We could build our own, and 100% of the sign would be dedicated to city business. It took 2 years to procure a spot for the sign, just to get the spot. Many other locations were looked at and pursued. When we finally found the right spot, services of our community were solicited. A resident civil engineer designed the placement of the sign and ensured the structure would be sound. A resident mason donated countless hours and materials to construct a beautiful structure. A resident excavator and electrician donated hours building the base and bringing electricity to the structure. Another resident donated the beam and metal sign with the city's name on it and installed it. Yet another resident who works for the sign company spent hours designing the sign and determining the look and placement. A local store, Maverick, donated the easement and the electricity. A local company, Parsons, donated the original digital sign. All these are quiet citizens and companies who love their community and spend their time in service to make things better for their neighbors. So I ask you to consider this. I'd also ask you to consider how many accidents have been reported at this location for any reason, let alone the sign. None that I'm aware of. And I think if anything, the sign makes drivers more cautious and aware when you go to that intersection. There have been countless hours donated by our residents who serve without complaint. The city was in constant contact with UDOT, and placement of the sign was UDOT approved. We've had a substantial increase in stormwater rates and other possible property tax hikes, and an understaffed office of Public Works Department. So even if this is a big deal, although there doesn't seem to be any such thing anymore, is it best use for our taxpayer dollars? I don't know where you are in making these changes, but as a longtime resident who has put my heart and soul into serving this community, I ask you to take one more look and please reconsider.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Paul Stern, 2527 Deer Run Drive. My first comment is general public comment. There appears to be an issue with the noticing of public information provided for this meeting. On the 19th of June, 22, a public notice was sent that contained 57 pages of packet for this meeting. On the 22nd of July, another public notice was sent that contained an 8-page packet addendum, and you see that in the box below. Please note, packet addendum is not a total replacement / addition to the original packet, and thus does not contain all of the information to be addressed tonight. It also appears that when the packet addendum was placed on the South Weaver City website, the original packet was replaced by the packet addendum. Thus, the original packet and its contents were no longer available to the packet after approximately 22 July. Second, public comment on agenda item 15, Transportation Capital Facilities Plan, 2700 East Area Concept. I don't normally take this hard of a look at things, but I'm very disappointed with tonight's presentation by WCG. It appears that it did not listen or comprehend what the City Council and Mayor and others told them concerning their 12 July 22 presentation and the issues observed. The Mayor clearly stated his opposition to the concrete item on 2700. He also clearly stated that he did not want to direct traffic from Maverick and Morris Car Wash traveling south towards a residential neighborhood and the, I won't call it proposed, but the schematic roundabout. Councilman Dills suggested that the roundabout be made smaller so as not to have representative after his presentation on 12 July 22 to inform him that the roundabout would not work as designed. I have informed him of a major item that makes this design unworkable. That is, multiple times a day, double belly dump trucks exit onto 2700 East. And that would take an even larger roundabout for these trucks. He was not aware, stated that he was not aware that these trucks exited onto 2700 East. It appears WCG did little on-site monitoring of real-world conditions on 2700 East. I am also abhorred concerning the apparent lack of WCG's incorporation of the mayor's, city council, and others' inputs. I was a government contractor for over 30 years and would never willfully disregard my client's requests and inputs. I also did not see any major changes in this presentation from the 12 July 22 version, although WCG was tasked to do so.
Thanks, Paul. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. We've got several presentations that we would like to make tonight. The first one, we've got a couple of new employees that we would like to make everyone aware of and ask if they would please stand. We've got a new hire of Erin White. Erin, would you like to stand for us? She's working our reception desk and also working in the utility billing department, and we appreciate you very much coming to work for South Weber and hope that you've enjoyed it so far. We've certainly enjoyed having you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Kyle Christensen, we have hired as full-time Public Works Department, and Kyle, welcome to South Weber City. We look forward to seeing you and working for us and appreciate all that you're doing. Thank
Mayor,
you
if
very
I may ask him a question?
much. Sure.
What department will you be working in specifically within Public Works?
So I work over, so I go around all the departments, mainly right now I work in
Okay, awesome. Welcome. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions they'd like to ask these two new employees? I think they're doing
We won't
great.
put them on the spot. It's a big crowd.
Okay, next we,
Do we have a third?
that was the only two that I had. Was your third?
We also have Nate here who's public works.
Nate, where are you?
Tell us your last name.
That's
Meet you,
right.
Nate. Welcome.
Oh, you know what? It is. It's right there. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Nate.
I'll proofread his notes next time.
I've got every-
Welcome. We appreciate
Welcome
it.
aboard, Nate.
Thank you, Nate. We appreciate you as well. Okay, we've got a recognition that we'd like to have presented, and Laura Oscarson, is she here to make that presentation?
Thank you so much for allowing us to come today. Denise and I represent the Utah Municipal Clerks Association and our partnership with the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. The mission of our organization is to provide our members with educational and networking support, positive professional interaction with elected officials, staff, and the public, and to enhance the awareness of the value of the city recorder position. Our international organization offers 2 certification programs. The Utah Municipal Clerks Association administers these programs locally, and we have developed an amazing partnership with Southern Utah University to provide the educational opportunities for these programs. Lisa has completed the requirements to obtain her certified municipal clerk designation. This requires 120 hours of university level coursework and various activities to enhance her work experience. As you can imagine, it takes several years to attain a certification, and we're fortunate that Mayor Westbrook and City Council and the City Manager recognize the importance of improving your employees' skills and knowledge continuing education and professional development opportunities. We salute you and your city for your forward thinking. It's our privilege to honor Lisa with this award tonight, recognizing her professional accomplishments.
Thank you so much. Within our organization, we have regions, and Lisa is the treasurer of the Dimmer region, which is the Davis Weaver Morgan Association of Reporters, and she's done awesome. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Lisa.
you.
Lisa, that's a big deal. We're thankful for you and for all that you do for the city. And that's a lot of extra work, and we really appreciate that so much. Thank you. We've also got another presentation that Mark McCrae, he would like to make. Mark, if you'd like to come up.
Council, it's my privilege tonight to represent the Utah Association of Public Treasurers, represent the board, which I'm on. And in doing so, to recognize our newest treasurer, Marinette Peterson. She's only been here for a few months, but she's shown her dedication to professionalism and her desire to increase her knowledge and her skills to serve this city and to perform the duties of city treasurer to the best of her ability. So she has completed the requirements to receive a national certification. The credentials that she is receiving is the Certified Public Funds Investment Manager. She had to be very knowledgeable in a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't know. Make sure that all the terminology that is used in investment, kind of investment the city treasurer is allowed to invest in, when to invest in both a bull and a bear market, when things are going up and things are going down, how to do that. Some of us may do a little bit of that with our own personal investments, but the city treasurer has a far greater responsibility. So we have a plaque tonight, which is from the Association of Public Treasurers of the United States and Canada. This is the national organization, which the Utah Association of Public Treasurers is a part of. I would like to recognize Maureen with this credential.
That's fantastic, Marin, for the short period of time you've been here to step up and go get this. We're appreciative, and that shows a lot to us. We appreciate you very much. Okay, we're not through yet. We've got some more we'd like to take care of. It's been quite a while. We've got several employees here that deserve a lot of a recognition, that we're also grateful for and thankful for all the years of service that they've rendered to South Weaver City, and we'd like to recognize them tonight. And so I'd like to have them stand as I call their name and give their years of service, and then we'll save for one applause at the very end. So first we'll begin with Mark Larson. Mark has been here for 32 years. That's a long time. And it's about time we recognize Mark Larson, if he hasn't before now. Thank you very much, Mark. We appreciate that. Michelle Clark,
I can't stand.
You can?
Yeah, you got, yeah, you got.
Stand up.
Yeah.
I said, and remain standing. Mark. Michelle Clark, 28 years of service to the city. That's fantastic. Brian Wageman. Brian, 26 years. Brian's been here. That's awesome.
Hey.
And I'm assuming everyone knows the departments they're in. Public Works for Mark and Brian, and administration for Michelle. Travis Nicholson. Travis in the fire department, 20 years. 20 years, great, Travis, we appreciate that. Ronnie Ketz. Ronnie, thank you very much. He's been here 19 years. So Derek Tolman. Derek has been with us for 13 years in the fire department. And Curtis Brown for our recreation department. Curtis has been with us for 12 years. So that's a lot of years of service for all of you. Thank you so much for all that you do for South Weber City. And its recognition is long overdue. And it's our policy to recognize this every 5 years. And from here on, every 5 years, this recognition will be given to our employees. So thank you very much. And if everybody could give them a Our fire chief, Derek Coleman, he wants to make just a couple of comments, so I told him I'd allow him to come up and say a few words.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to publicly thank Travis and Ronnie for their, both of them have virtually put in 20 years at the fire department, which traditionally is when most firefighters are getting ready to retire. And they've done it for 20 years, and even still, they volunteer their time, even though we're not volunteer anymore. And it's remarkable for anyone to stay 20 years at any organization, when I'm doing most of that time for free, is even that much more remarkable. But I also wanted to talk a little bit about the impact they've had, not just on myself, but dozens of firefighters over the last 20 years that they've mentored. And to put it in perspective, over 20 years, of the dozens of firefighters that they've mentored, who they've gone on to mentor, and they've gone on to mentor, there are truly dozens, if not hundreds of firefighters across the Western United States, not just in Utah, that have been directly impacted by these two gentlemen and their training. And then again, as the people they've mentor more people, it's just, it explodes pretty rapidly. And I think it's pretty safe to say that not only have they touched thousands of lives here in the city of South Weber, but if you take all those firefighters that count, they've touched tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of lives indirectly. And I'm just super proud to be associated with these two gentlemen.
Thank you, Jerry. We know that you would all like to stay for the rest of this meeting, but it would cool the building down if you guys would leave. So we'll go ahead and excuse you if you'd like to leave. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. And you are welcome to stay if you want to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dave, you've got to come back, so. Well, I think that was great. We've got some great people that work for South Weber. We appreciate them very much. Next item is our consent agenda. We need to approve the June 28th, 2022 minutes. Looking for a motion to approve those minutes.
Mayor, I'll make that motion that we approve the, excuse me, consent agenda. About to say the date. I second that.
Mayor, I need to abstain because I was absent for that meeting.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ordinance 2022-11, rezone for Belknap Estates, approximately 7888 South, 2600 East, from residential low to residential moderate. Application is Tyker Belknap. Tyker, would you like to come up to the microphone? In case somebody,
They may have questions. You never know.
in case somebody might have a question they'd like to ask you. Is there anyone that's, you want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing here, Tyker, and then
Sure.
maybe the council might have a question for you.
Yeah, no, we're just, we're building into family property. It's been in the family for, my grandma and grandpa are here. 5 years ago. 56 years ago, my wife and I and our family were, planning on building our kind of forever home there in the orchard, as we call it. And, just looking forward to it. Looking forward to putting in some pretty strong roots again. South Weaver.
Great.
I've got a quick question. So where on the lot are you looking at building?
Really the only, it's kind of a weird shaped lot.
Yeah.
Those areas the furthest north of in the lot, that little square that's there before the roundabout, or the end of the cul-de-sac starts, the curve.
So right next to your grandpa's house.
So ours is
Basically, or a
gonna be
little
just
further
a little
down?
gap next there between
Okay.
my grandparents' house and then where ours would be.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
So what's the reasoning for going from the low to the moderate?
The setbacks.
Setbacks?
The
Okay.
setback requirements for that lot. Yeah. So with the
Gotcha.
residential moderate, the setbacks are 25 feet. With the residential low, the setbacks are 30 feet buildable, in any good sense.
Yeah, we had to get a little unique with the house design because but that rezoning is really cool.
And the general plan shows it as residential moderate anyway.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Correct.
I guess this is a question for staff. Would a ADU be able to go back there?
Currently, ADUs are only allowed as an internal accessory dwelling unit. No external accessory dwelling units are allowed. And so pending code changes and any ordinance change there, right now there wouldn't be anything allowed, any dwelling allowed on that portion of the property. There could be accessory buildings like a barn or a shed or something like that, but no accessory dwelling unit would be allowed unless it's attached to the building, and that would still have to maintain setbacks for the area.
So we don't allow tiny homes anywhere in the city?
No, not really.
Mm-mm.
A tiny home typically is on a trailer, and so that would be determined as a mobile or a recreational vehicle by our code. Does that make sense? So you're not allowed to inhabit a recreational vehicle.
Any other questions? Someone like to make a motion on this ordinance?
So can we do the rezone and the plat as the same, or do we have to have two separate? I guess.
I think
I think
two
you have to have
separate.
You have to have separate.
Okay.
Yeah, one's an ordinance, one's a resolution.
So Mayor, I'll move to approve ordinance 2022-11, rezone for Belknap Estates, Belknap Estates at approximately 7888 South, 2600 East, from residential low to residential moderate by the applicant Tyker Belknap.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. We'll begin with a roll call from Howerson.
Aye.
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 I,
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, then part of that also, then we'll do a resolution 22-37, final plat for Belknap Estate at the same address. So we'll open that up, or if there's anything to be said. If not, then we'll.
Mayor,
Look for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve resolution 22-37, final plat for Belknap Estates at approximately 7888 South, 2600 East by applicant Tyker Belknap.
I'll second.
Motion in a second. We'll begin with a roll call from Councilman Dills.
I guess I'm not seeing the plat.
It's in there.
Down on page 20, yeah, 22, 23.
Yeah. Page 23.
Oh, okay. There we go. Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries.
Congrats, guys.
Let me just say one thing. When your grandpa built that house, why, I was just a little kid. Not very old.
That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago. No, I'm not finished with the story yet. And there was a gas station up on Highway 89, and he was over there working on that house, sweating away. And I would go over there just about every afternoon because I knew that he wanted a fudgesicle from that. And I also knew that if I walked up there to buy him one, he would buy me one. And I can remember that like it was yesterday. And back in those days, everything was hammered out with a hammer and a nail. You didn't have any automatic guns or nail guns or anything. And he put in a lot of hard work on that house. Yep. Little trivia.
Thank you. Good luck.
Good luck. Thanks, guys. Feel free to stay.
No pressure.
Okay, next item. Ordinance 2022-12, rezone of Sophia's Haven at approximately 1598 East South Weaver Drive, from commercial to residential moderate. Application is Rob Edwards. Rob, would you like to come up? And have you got anything you'd like to say before we, any questions that we might have? Okay, let's open it up for discussion and questions for Rob.
Go ahead, Quinn. You look like you've got something to say.
So, Mr. Edwards, thanks for answering our questions coming in. I do have a few questions. My understanding is that when you purchased the property, there was an agreement to demolish some of the buildings and things there, and that didn't take place yet. And so I'm just a little concerned that if that agreement wasn't honored, what assurances can you give us that you'll be following all of the expectations, agreements that we have that, you know, would go along with this change? Well, I was not aware of that agreement. Actually, do have a demolition permit. We don't have. That come up?
Are we talking about the property across the street here with the
Mhm.
big,
Yep.
with the big pile over here?
Mhm.
Yes.
We have a demolition permit right now.
Mhm.
We'll be given a demolition. I think we have 180 days to complete it.
Okay.
But I anticipate it will be next time. There's a shortage of trucks. So we're getting close. It did take a while to get some of the steps in there, like that. We don't have a permit yet on the building and build. They didn't want to give us a permit yet. They wanted us to fight that separate.
That's the largest building?
Yeah.
The former store? And I guess the other question I have is there's been lots of stuff parked there for
several months. Can you tell us the purpose?
Well, I had a gentleman who approached me, he's a resident here in the city. He lives in the town homes, and he bought a boat to do some type of a business with his son shortly after his son passed away. And he didn't really have a place to park the boat. And so I allowed him to place the boat there. And then we had a lot of loitering, we had windows broken over there. And so we tried to block out the entrance. So we're going to be permanent there because we knew we were going to be on the street.
Could you pull the microphone closer to you?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And then one of the other residents in the townhomes has a delivery bread, so we let him park there at no charge. So we're just trying to help out some of the community members. We were unaware that there was anything wrong with that. I didn't know that was a problem.
And then just a follow-up question on the building. Are you still waiting on an asbestos or something?
No, they
Or-
won't.
Okay, so it's all good to go now.
Yeah.
I thought you said you hadn't gotten a
Permit.
yet to take it down.
Well,
So,
for the large building.
Yeah.
Asbestos testing back. It's,
okay,
there's no asbestos.
so you have all the permits to begin taking it down, or we don't have it
We-
yet?
the-
Applying for the permit
Oh, yeah, okay,
here, shortly.
okay, thank you.
Other questions? On this rezone, if we decide to do this rezone, we can attach to the rezone specifications that we would like to see or would want to have take place over there. We can also put in there that if the conditions aren't met, that then the rezone would revert back to commercial. We could do that. There's a lot of leeway that we as a council have that we can attach to this rezone if anyone wants to add that to there.
So a little more context on top of that, Mayor, just for the benefit of the council. With any rezone request, it's a legislative action by the city council, and so you can attach conditions on which you would grant the rezone. Typically, that can be done with a development agreement, site plan approval, or something like that mechanism. So if you wish to add conditions to a rezone, you would just make the rezone conditioned on a development agreement that would contain the following items to be addressed, such as site plan, cleanup of the site, phasing of the site, improvements, things that you wish to have as a condition of that approval.
And just to add one more layer to that, you will need in a motion to approve such a conditional zoning ordinance to put in a time frame within which the site plan and the development agreement would be approved. That way, if that timing's not met, the ordinance would revert, or the zoning rather would revert back to whatever it is today.
So I do have a follow-up question. This is probably more for staff. The engineering review said the location of the water service to the home needs to be identified by Public Works and the corresponding easement provided on the plat per the Planning Commission recommendation. Has that taken place?
It has.
So that's all clear. There's no open easements or other documentation required.
No, that was just the same comment that went to the Planning Commission, but in between these two meetings, it's been addressed.
Thank you.
If you look on page 37 of the packet, that's the plat, and it has the easement identified on there.
It's on the east end of lot 3.
So did I misunderstand you? Your intent is not to finish cleaning up the rubble until October?
No, we're waiting for a truck, a large truck. We're supposed to actually get one tomorrow from the machine company. So we're hoping to try was on it right now.
Okay,
His question was about the permit. I was trying to just say we had 180 days on the permit, from the time we started. I can't quite remember exactly what that date was.
so when we're looking at the store itself and the demolition that's going to be happening on that, do you have the equipment to be able to do all of that?
Yes.
And the demolition crew is going to be able to do it on a timely instead of a last of the licensing for it, or the permit?
Oh, I mean, as soon as we get the permit, if we have an approved project, right now it serves as storage for some personal items that I own. So it doesn't make much sense for me to tear down the building where I have things that I own stored in.
Sure, but you do understand also for a city side that having on our main road what basically looks like a vagrant building, and I mean, to the point, it almost looks like it's intentionally done that way. You've got another section over here that's not been demolished that has been set and actually, I believe, took enforcement to get involved. And then all of this is going to be rezoned from commercial, which is something that I think we need, not necessarily there, but I mean, I'll just be honest with you. I have a hard time thinking that this cherry piece of real estate in the middle of our city, that it's going to be done in a timely fashion. Because right now it just kind of seems the other way. And I know you've probably got some things going on, but I just.
We built 32 homes in the city, done a couple of developments here in the city over 3 years. All due respect, we've been working on this for 3 years. I want to continue forward to move it on a quick basis. It's only 3 homes. They're homes that are designed for people with physical handicaps. Everything's universally designed, no stairs. We feel like there's a need for that in the real estate community.
So are you going with ADA doors, ADA ramps, all of that kind of
Yeah,
stuff?
all that stuff for physically handicapped people that might be in wheelchairs, larger rooms, stores in the homes. The storage container that's out front is to remove the things that are in the storage facility. So we're all staged and ready to take the movement over there. So I don't think we're trying to prolong anything. We proposed a myriad of things on that property over a 3-year period of time. And this seemed to be what the city, we waited for almost 18 months for a city process to occur. We designed the plan based off feedback that we've gotten from the community, from the staff. So we've been busy in your community. We just completed an 18 home lot subdivision over in Sunray. They're all complete over there.
Mhm. Okay.
So Rob, maybe you need to help me get my mind wrapped around this a little bit, so you bring up the other things you've done.
Sure.
So both projects, the city said that either on the last one, we're now finishing part of it that we felt more comfortable finishing it ourselves versus you. And the other one, we have a road coming up. Is it 1250? What's the road? That it was not to city standards that we had to accept. And those have been the two items I've been on council and other council members, I think, I know Angie was here, that we've had to come before this council and have to accept those items as items that were not done to our standards.
I need to defer to Brandon. Of which road would that be?
Well, Sunrays, you know, the curb and gutter issue was probably one of the ones that Councilman Howard was talking about. And then I think the other one he's talking about is Ray Creek Estates, just finishing up the patching.
Right. Well, I was under the assumption that the city was trying to build a public works department. And when we do those types of work, we sub that stuff out. I mean, we use the same large companies. And I, for me, it was offered to me that the work, I could pay that money out of the bond, and that your city works, public works, that work. And for us, it was less of it's like, hey, why not? Let's just let them do it. It seemed like the lesser of two evils. It was never anything other than that. We did have an issue in Sunrays on the curb and gutter. The design was at 0.5% on some of the curb. And we had some dipping on some of the curb, but we removed that and had to replace that at our cost. And then on the original development down here by the LDS church, they ended up paying for an extra probably 200, maybe 250 feet of road that went up past beyond, and ended up having to pay for some of the road base to be brought back in because it was unacceptable. And we never anticipated doing that in the development at all. So, and we've been there all the way through the end. We've actually requested our final release from our bond on that project. I've been down there several times and got the checklist you guys provided for us.
And Rob, just for clarification, Ray Creek Estates, the one you're talking about, was accepted at the last city council meeting.
So, you know, we're just kind of shuffling through, you know, we come through, we have projects going on in Salt Lake, we have some stuff going on in Ogden Valley. We had 3 properties here, and this is the last property that we have. We tried to propose a plan or plans that the city would approve. Some of the first proposals were storage units. Then there was a proposal for townhomes. And then there was a proposal for some type of a commercial mixture with 2-bedroom condominiums. And all these things were floated and passed around. And then we got all the way to the preliminary phase for townhomes. And then it was tabled in a meeting. We were told it would be 11 months possibly, and it went 18 months. And during that time period, we came back to the city and we really reduced down what we're doing. All we're doing is tearing down the buildings and putting up 3 residential homes. And then we signed an agreement with the neighbors in the back to have a shared access on that drive that we vacated over. So I think everybody in the area back there is on board.
Just to add to what Councilman Haverson is saying, I hope you can appreciate the hesitation, because we have several developments that have happened over the last few years. And it seems as though perhaps the development process, that other developers can follow this process to completion without having any issues or surprises as far as what the city standard goes. So it's really difficult for us as a council to say, well, we've been bitten a couple times, knowing that there's a potential for that to happen again.
I guess I don't understand how you could bit and rebuild everything.
Accepting a road or a curb and gutter or anything like that is below city standard. That is my definition.
Was any of it accepted under city standard?
Well, just that it had to be redone to
It
meet.
was repaired on every subdivision. There's always checklists that every developer.
You're absolutely right. There's checklists and there's that have to be completed. And we have several developers that don't make it to that point and have to redo things because they've done it properly the first time.
Right.
That's the hesitation. And also, my frustration is that if we go ahead and grant this rezone, any condition I would put on it would be that demolition is complete. You have 180 days in your permit. You're absolutely right. You could use all that and clean it up. And then the demo for the buildings be for the old store. You get the permit and complete it during that time frame, and then building permits would be issued.
I have no problems. I mean, I'm a team player here. I stepped into this meeting, and the first thing that was said to me was that I didn't honor an agreement. That I don't know how anybody would know about that agreement because it was a real estate agreement between the citizens here. And I have a closing document from U.S. Title, and the first thing it said to me, it almost made me feel as though, maybe you guys know something that I don't about an agreement that I had with somebody.
I can give you clarification on that. That comes from the planning commission meeting where that was public comments, which is what we were given as the planning commission review. So I just had a question on that. He said that there was $20,000 given as part of the agreement that you would demo that. And that was never.
In the time frame within
In the
90
time
days.
frame that, yeah.
No time frame, it's part of the real estate agreement.
That's where that question is coming from.
But it obviously, if that didn't occur, I mean, obviously the real estate transaction would happen, but it has done what we said it would do. And I understand your apprehension, but regardless if, we had a subcontractor or ourselves made a mistake on our work, we honored it. We came back. If there was an option for us to let you guys take care of it, if you wanted to do it, we worked with your staff. If not, then we would handle it ourselves. But
Well, we're severely understaffed, so it's not like the city staff wants to fulfill that obligation for bonds. Just for clarification.
I just understood that there was a new department that was being built here in the city. I'm just telling you what I understood. I thought that there was a.
We're just looking for a new building to house
We've
our
always had a
public works.
Public Works department.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Roads department, I believe.
Can I wasn't here for this, so I need a little bit more understanding. So the curb and gutter wasn't done because we were having a new public works building? I'm confused.
No, there's a couple of things going on. The Sunrays development to the east here of City Hall had some curb and gutter put in that had horizontal and vertical issues. So a good majority of it had to be replaced. That's one issue. That was done by the developer. There was some issues in the north cul-de-sac in Sunrays. In order to get into conditional acceptance, the city allowed or offered to take some of the escrow money, fix some of the issues in that cul-de-sac so that they could get into their conditional. So they paid for it, but the city kind of oversaw the work. The other subdivision is Ray Creek Estates, which is west here of City Hall. And that one, it was the one that just came before you at your last meeting. There was a minor settling issue. When that was first identified was back in February or so. It took a while for it to hit an agenda. And so by that time, we had originally offered, because of the weather, that we could do it as part of the city's standard, street maintenance projects, again, so that we could, we would have some oversight on that. So we offered that as an option to Rob, and he said that he would take that option, and so that's why it went on there like that.
So to your understanding, what does the public works building have to do with this?
Nothing, what I was simply stating at the time, was I understood that the public works department program that was 615, when we did the first stuff in the cul-de-sac in some ways, but that's all.
So you were understanding that you had different credentials to meet, and then we expanded them after?
No,
Or?
there was no credentials that were different. We just had some work that didn't meet standard. And so we were required to replace it, and we did that. And then when some of the other opportunities came up where they offered to utilize your own department here at a cost, we paid for that, and they did the work.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay, thank you.
I think the misunderstanding might just be that Rob is understanding that the city is doing the work, but this is contracted out.
I see. You were understanding that it was a program.
A road program, and they were doing their own.
But in reality, we were just taking your escrow and fixing it ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay. Brandon, I know that you mentioned that the fiber line was located and it was documented. I just couldn't figure out which map that was on. Is that showing?
Yeah, let me see if I can tell you what page it's on. I believe it's on page 39. if you'd have to zoom in on lot 3. This one's actually a little towards kind of the middle western end of the lot. It's got the text on the line is super, super small, but I think it's supposed to say TEL. Anyway, that's where the line is, but there's a note that says approximate location of existing fiber optic to cell tower to be relocated into lot 3 GUE, which is general utility easement, which is on the west side of lot 3. So they're proposing to move it from its current location into the easement that runs along the west side of lot 3.
It's a note that's bordering lot 1 and lot 3. Right there.
It has 3 arrows coming off of it.
I found it.
The note does.
Some help.
Yeah, so when we bought the property, the people that we bought it from, they wanted to retain the license. They also wanted us to buy it. We ended up, they retained the rights to we managed that. And they just upgraded that tower to the tower.
Okay. And then, so you have these as just, I know this isn't pertinent to necessarily this conversation, but you just have these as one single level homes. is
Yeah,
what you're
yeah,
doing.
you know, obviously that hasn't been, you know, it's single family residential. But I've wanted to for a long time do something for ADA and people that have those needs. We've had clients in the past that have looked for several years for homes like that, and they're unable to find them. So we thought, you know, this might be a good way to get the lot's relatively flat, and it's in the center of town. This could be a good chance to give it a shot.
Okay. So I guess regarding this area, I know we've had a lot of complaints from just residents in general of the structure, the garbage. I understand. I know, I understand that way. I understand that, but I'm just, I agree with Angie. I think there is a concern of it being cleaned up. I'm fine to approve it with the conditions that it is all cleared out entirely before any building permits are issued. And then, shoot, I just had a question for staff and I forgot what it was. It'll come to me. Give me just 1 second.
The steel building, we're probably going to try to salvage. The larger, the building that's to the east of.
The store?
Yeah, the building that's to the east is cinder block. It's in 2 parts. But the actual steel building that was the store, they'll come in with a crane and salvage that and take it away.
Okay.
It won't be a standard demolition where it'll just be crunched up and thrown, and it'll be reused.
Okay.
And how long do you see that taking?
Well, between what we have right now, we have 4 loads of trash to haul away, so a day worth of trucking on the old house and the old building. And then we need to simply haul, we've already got the sea container there, so we need to haul out the things and get things moved out of the building. We were going to do a garage sale for things that we didn't take in the community, and then we'd start dismantling that building. I mean, it would all happen as the project was approved, that we've all been kind of gearing up towards this time of the year to get that done.
Mayor and council, if I could, it's something that might be helpful for you. Everything that's on the improvement plans has to be done before building permits will be issued. So you could add that to your motion, but it will happen anyway. If you're more concerned about timing, you may want to consider, you know, how soon the demo needs to be done.
I have no problems putting a rush on the demolition. I just don't want to be held up on getting a permit. I mean, if you guys will give me a permit in a quick amount of time.
Can I ask Steph, that's what was my question was, what is your perspective of delaying the second permit? Or Can you tell us your side there?
On why we've delayed it. We've delayed it because of the performance on the first permit. We wanted to see more significant cleanup.
And were you
before we
aware of
issued
that?
another permit.
I've never gotten a notice in the mail or anything on the first permit. I mean, I got the first permit and it said 180 days.
But
Right,
are
but-
you aware that your second permit was denied or delayed because
I
you
haven't
hadn't?
even applied for it. I was just told that I should wait until I turned in the asbestos report. And I have that asbestos report and I've just been waiting as we've been moving through this one. If I would have known that I was not performing on the permit and it had some poor reflection on me in this meeting, we certainly would have put.
You
more-
didn't hear from code enforcement?
We talked on the phone about the permit. He didn't give me a citation or anything like that. I mean, I've just talked to him one time on the phone.
If code enforcement calls you, isn't that kind of an idea?
Well,
There's a reason why he's calling you?
yeah, we talked about
He's
it.
never called me.
Well, he told me, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm doing a demolition job right in the center of town. And so he called me and he asked me about the permit and I read the permit to him. And so it's hard for me, when I'm getting issued a permit for 180 days and I'm not even in the permit for 60 days and I'm not performing. I mean, if you guys want me to perform in a month, just say so, or 2 months, but don't tell me 180 days on a permit. And then if I'm 60 days into it, tell me that I'm not performing. I never received a citation. He said he'd call and check on it, got back to me, said, thank you.
Okay.
You know,
So with that process, just to let you know, the demolition permit was 180 days. That was pointed out to us by Mr. Edwards during the process. When we initiated the conversation with code enforcement about the site and the cleanup opportunities, that's when he brought it to our attention. Since then, we've updated our permit process and allowed for a 30-day cleanup requirement on our demolitions, because what we've seen on the site, and we understand that there's extra stipulations and extra things that have been going on with the market and different things like that, but we were creating a nuisance junk problem within the city, and that's also a code violation is junk within public view. And so to kind of work those two things together as we shorten that time frame from 180 days to 30 days. If there's extenuating circumstances, they can apply for an extension on that, but that's on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
and, I mean, if you guys would have given me 30 days, I mean, I'm not here to
Okay.
drag it out. That's what
I just wanted to understand the situation better. Thank you. So council, how do you guys date in mind to have it finished, or can I ask kind of a straw poll idea of how we're feeling?
Well, those changes were made after the fact, right? He had this 180.
Correct. On the
But
first
new-
permit, he
but the
still has
new
180
permit, the
days.
new permit will have the 30-day
30.
stipulation on it, if that's what our permit's changed to. I mean,
Correct.
He's right. If it said 180 days, it said 180 days.
Yeah, I don't have a problem pushing the 30-day permit. That sounds fine.
So in my brain, I'm thinking if you have until October with you have it until October regardless, right? And that's what your first permit is. And then a 30-day one implemented after that, we would be looking at the end of November. End
I'd
of
like
December,
to.
if we want to give you a little bit of more wiggle room.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
mean,
What do you
I'm
feel,
fine
council?
finishing up this first one within a week, and I mean, I'll go right in. I mean, I'll start next week on the other building, and we'll push it in 30 days. I don't see there being a lot left. I do have to, we've already called in the utilities. There's a power pole that's behind the old building that has an old transformer on it, so we'll kind of have to wait for them to take that down. I can't do that. But we'll be able to work around that.
So
That would be something that would behoove you to wait and to apply until that's done. Having experience with Rocky Mountain Power personally,
Yeah.
I would wait to apply for your permit until you've got Rocky Mountain Power completed.
Yeah,
Because they're not gonna be quick.
I've already paid them. there, I'm already on the schedule.
Okay.
And like you say, that's part of the problem with the demolition. It takes a long time, but then it falls back on somebody like me. And the general public don't understand that, you know, we called in months prior and then the power company doesn't get out there for 3-4
Right.
months. But we called in, we've had the power cut. All the gas is cut. The gas line has already been removed. So it's just that pole. And what I'm getting at is we'll be able to take everything down without that. So
Understandable.
Just to clarify for the council, if you wanted to put a time frame on when you wanted to see the demolition complete as a condition, just put the time frame, and we would say the zoning will grant the zoning conditioned on that the demolition is complete by X date or within a month time frame. And then if it's not completed by that time, then the zoning can revert back to the original zoning. If that's a wish from the council.
I just feel like we do need to put some timelines on it, and not necessarily all your fault. This has been
no problem.
a blight situation here in the city for a long, long time, and you kind of came in here in the middle of it. But it has taken you a while to demo what you've had, and I understand you've had some problems with your equipment, but we just get a lot of calls from the residents saying, man, we'd sure like to get that cleaned up and taken care of. So I think by putting a timeline on it, then everybody knows
Sure.
where we're at. The other concern is that I have is to make sure that all of it's cleaned up, all 3 lots. I would hate to see for you to clean up those 2 and leave this building and then come in and want building permits for the first 2 lots when this one is still standing. I'd like to have everything cleaned up and gone.
Okay. I don't have a problem with that.
That's what I think would really help the community.
Yeah, I mean, just for the record, I've been trying to beautify this area for 3 years. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars to try to do something here in the center of town. So I'd love nothing more than to help you out. I really would.
Well, we would appreciate that.
Go ahead. Question for staff. So it's a rezone tonight. The actual building of the lots and things like that,
That's final plat.
So tonight is a rezone and a final plat.
and the final plat.
The process after a final plat approval and the rezone approval would then be a pre-construction meeting. They would be required to get the site ready to construct before any building permits would be issued. So we would issue any excavation permits or demolition permits or anything like that that would be required. And they would have to finish all improvements to the site before we would do any, so if they have to, like it says on the plans, changing where utilities are or adding utilities or adding sections to the right of way, those would all have to be complete prior to any building permits being issued by the city.
One of the things that, just to bring this up, I don't know if it makes much sense, but just doing the work and you know, trying not to have to do things twice. Does that include sidewalk?
Yes.
Okay.
All improvements.
So you okay, all righty. So all the sidewalks we'd want in before, okay. I just find that on every development we do in every city that, and
Unless-
this has nothing to do with you guys, but I just don't understand why the cities don't, you know, you've got your line at the curb. I don't understand if you're retaining money, why you would wait until the homes are built and put the sidewalk in at the end.
Unless you escrow for the improvement amount.
Okay,
That is always an option to escrow for the improvement.
so that is an option.
Yes, but before you get occupancy on the home, the sidewalk has to be in.
Okay, that seems, that seems right. That'd be fine.
So my question is just very simple. The area over here, it is an older part of our city, which means we have some very large mature trees. Is your plan just to mow down everything over there?
No, we've
So we
saved-
will have some of the big
Yeah,
trees
we're gonna
over there?
leave the majority of what's left right now.
Okay, good.
We needed to take down what we did for the homes to fit inside we see value in mature trees.
Okay, because I'm just looking on the plat and it just doesn't seem like there's much room back behind there, so
Yeah.
I'm glad there's nothing we can hold you to or anything, but it is.
No. We,
It's one of those
it would
things that-
diminish the value of the property too.
Okay.
It makes sense.
Okay, that's it for me.
So just one quick, to kind of get all of our other questions out and aside, the main question is are we all comfortable rezoning to from commercial to residential? I wasn't comfortable with it on the whole general plan to begin with, but that I was one voice of a lot of people, and there were a lot of people who wanted.
So you think commercial is still very viable?
The gentleman that spoke last week was saying yes. And we just, and you get it, we just told, we're almost speaking out of both sides of our mouth by saying, we're not gonna give up commercial. And yet now tonight, it sounds like some people are, and I'm not. So, despite all the conversation of Rob, and it has nothing to do with Rob or anybody else, that's city. And I struggle with it. There's a lot of things that the city needs. The previous and some of the other property owners have asked for it to stay commercial when we were doing the general plan at the time.
Well, we originally had a plan. That was the whole problem.
It was, I saw the plan. It was not a commercial plan. It was a mixed use plan.
It was a whole level. We had
It was
several
a
plans.
mixed use plan.
And so you tabled me for 18 months. You guys have done a study that shows that property isn't suitable for commercial.
We haven't done a study on that.
I was told there was a study done several years ago and that you have that. Everybody pointed towards wanting it to go residential. We waited for 18 months. We proposed plans, several commercial
I know, I sat
plans.
here and suffered through all 18 months. I get
It
it.
was terrible, and so then we spent money to do that. We spent money to do that. We spent money to do that. And now we
Well,
spent money to
It was
do.
never zoned to be the townhouses. And yet that was an option you spent completely on your own whim.
That's fine. But the point that I'm saying, Blair, is that we tried to, at different times, when there were different people in these positions speaking, they were telling us and then they were pushing us out and we just kept trying to adapt every time to what. And that's where we came back with this final three home residential, is that the city had finally spoken and that's what they wanted, was it to be zoned to the 3 residential. And so we were like, okay, we got on the horn with your staff and we asked them, hey, is this a plan that you guys could get behind? And so we went down that path and that's how we got here.
Weren't we on more than 3 acres on those other designs?
The other designs were, it was
the whole piece.
Yeah, it was more property. Yeah, yeah.
So just to follow up on that, do you own the rest of the property?
I
there?
do not. I do not own the rest of the property.
Okay.
Yeah, that's somebody else.
And just a follow-up question on the right of way, you say all that's easements and agreements here and everything, the right of way individuals here, you're good, everything's there.
It's been decided months ago.
Good, thank you.
Is this your partner?
No, I don't have a partner. This is.
Oh,
He lives in the house
gotcha.
behind it.
He
Thank
owns
you.
the house right behind. He's been helpful.
So the right of way you're talking
Oh.
about is the shared access. Yeah,
The
between the
east-west,
respects
yeah.
and, yes.
But lot 3 would still
Lot
come off
three.
of South Weaver Drive.
Yes,
Yes.
lot 3 would utilize the South Weaver Drive entrance.
We're getting rid of, is it three, I believe 3 entrances on South Weaver Drive, which is
2.
kind of a bonus for UDOT. They appreciated that for safety.
Okay, so Council Blair brings up a good point.
So
That's the main point.
throughout my, I'm of the thought that there's probably not a lot of commercial that would really thrive here unless it was somebody's office or something where it was a destination type thing. But, I don't know, I'm open to hearing what type of commercial would be feasible down here.
So we've got 2 adjacent landowners, homeowners. What would you like to see? Would you like to see homes over there? Would you like to see commercial over there?
I prefer home.
I prefer home too.
Okay.
And I also question
I don't own that property anymore. So I don't know what his intentions are. I do know the owner. I could get you in contact with him. So you could discuss that. But I don't have any involvement in it.
Mhm.
There is, just for clarification, that there is a small piece of frontage that the other property has on South Weaver Drive. So there is, that's not your driveway. So there is a little bit of access, but yes, it is. The other piece of property is a difficult piece of property too.
It was that way when it was originally purchased. I think that was one of the concerns.
I kind of agree with Quinn. I think there was a time that I would say, let's keep this commercial, but with what we see happening with online shopping and everything, the commercial is just kind of dying out. And this being further down in the town, I think it would be a real hard sell to get any kind of a retail commercial in here now. I think we need to consider that.
Brandon, is that spot even wide enough for a 60 or 70 foot road?
No, not for a public road.
On the other piece.
So it would have
On
to
the
be
other
On the other piece, it would have to be a private road.
a PUD.
Or a private road,
Well, yeah,
just like a one.
but that doesn't,
Yes, we had this really awesome discussion
We
about
did.
that. Okay.
Yes.
but anything that Mr. Edwards is proposing doesn't change. That's just the way that it is right now.
Mhm.
In regards to Blair's question, I agree with Quinn and the mayor. I feel, I think the mayor summed it up nicely. There was a time that this could have been potential for commercial, and as much as I would love to see like a cute little city center right here, I don't think that it's very viable. I think the developer telling us that commercial wasn't viable right next to Maverick, but very viable down here is laughable and not credible whatsoever.
When I look at it, all I see is Ray's, and it worked. It was a part of our town. Everyone in the town came to it, and that's when we were quite a bit smaller than we are today. I do have a hard time getting rid of any commercial because we don't get it back. I do like the idea of the homes. They look nice. It's a great thing. And I will be happy to get rid of the eyesore that's everything that's over there. But at the same time, it just comes down to that dang commercial. And that's why I echo what Haley said last time. It sure would be good to get that program that we talked about up and running, being able to look and see what a commercial business over there be able to generate the same tax revenue that we would need, property tax wise, as 3 homes.
It absolutely would not be the same, but I mean, the commercial is always going to be more property tax heavy than a residential use, because just by the nature of residential, you only get 40%. Commercial, we get 40% of the value, right? Commercial, we get 100% of the value.
Yep.
So we could do those numbers now. The additional question on top of that is always a question mark, is the sales tax impact. That's where you get the larger impact on your general fund, rather than, I mean, property tax would be great, but we're talking thousands of dollars that are like $2,000 to $5,000, depending on how much of the site is done, versus probably $700 to $800 for the homes. That's a rough from what I've looked at previously.
So Trevor, just clarify for me, property tax is based off of the building square footage, not the plot square footage.
It's the value of that, yes, the value of the structure.
So if you had one commercial building in there,
Well, it just depends.
That's
It's not
not
necessarily just the building
more than
itself.
three
They look at the
They take,
size,
they take
it's
the
the
land,
property.
the land and the building.
They just
But
say what
if
it's
you
valued
have,
at.
if you have a building, let's say it's a used car dealership that uses a mobile office versus a two-story
Brick and
doctor's
mortar.
office, those valuations would be different. And so therefore the property tax valuation would be different for us to gain property tax from. Does that help?
So, yeah, but it's not always, I guess in my mind, I don't think that commercial is always more valuable than residential, depending upon what the commercial is. The value of the property may not be that
So
valuable.
like, if it were storage sheds or three very nice $800,000 homes,
Yeah, what you're
You
describing
could
is,
say the homes would bring in more technically.
yeah, the property tax value is totally dependent on the type of
Right. A building.
improvements and buildings that are put in there. But if you have a $200,000 valuation of residential and the $200,000 valuation of commercial, the city receives more property tax from the commercial.
Right. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
I think any sales tax would be really difficult. I just went off. Sales tax would be difficult here, so it would be probably a service-based if we could get any commercial.
No, I don't know about that. I think we could, I think there's destination commercial. I bring up the example of a tuxedo shop all the time. You know, it's a place where nobody drives by it and thinks, oh, I need a tuxedo. You know, they're getting married, getting buried, whichever one, and they need a tuxedo. So.
I've been there before. I've been to one of those.
And just kind of a procedural one, if we're concerned about the cleaning up, and you have to understand, I'm the new guy on here.
Sure.
Can we table it or continue it until the things have been cleaned up before we decide? I'm just asking, I don't know. Because if we've got an issue right now where everybody feels, or people feel that the area over there isn't going to be cleaned up, like you said, you know, you got your truck tomorrow. Are they going to start working on it? Could we just continue it or table it until the next council meeting?
You certainly have the option to continue it. Another option would be to make a conditional approval and have the approval revert back to the existing zoning if those conditions are not met.
Okay.
It would be hurtful to us to have to wait because we're able to start doing some things if we can get some approval behind the scenes to help get the project moving forward. So we would ask that if it was the same either way, that you'd allow us to move forward, and then if we didn't deliver, then you could rescind what you decide.
Okay, thanks.
If that would be our request.
Are you saying that some of your financing is linked to?
No, I'm not.
approval of the
It's
zoning?
not. None of the financing is. It just allows us to get the sales team moving and mobilizing and get things moving that way. But none of the financing. We don't have any financing. We own the property outright. There's no financing to be had.
Okay.
Angie, do you have an answer to Blair's question?
I don't like to disagree with Blair, but I disagree with Blair.
That does not happen very
I
often.
know. I don't think that commercial is very viable right there. I would love to see City Hall right there, but I don't foresee that happening anytime soon.
Okay.
You want to bag your project and build us a new city hall
I'd
instead?
love to build we'd consider doing something like I said that.
Why didn't you bring that proposal to us?
We did. Nobody, that's been the.
I don't
this-
recall that one.
Well,
I don't
we-
recall that one
we had-
either.
We had conversations with many people that at the time.
You should have had conversations with these people about it.
I'll tell you what, I know who owns that other piece of property, and I'm sure he would entertain doing something like that.
Okay, fair point. Knowing how long it would take to do demo. So here's the time frame. Back to Haley's point. He has 180 days to demo, but does not mean that he will take the entire 180 days. The new application, I don't know how long it takes for the state or the city for a demo, but depending on any reports, asbestos reports or anything, you may have to have a longer,
He's had that done.
We got it done.
correct, but the process may take longer for demo. So I want to make sure that
We give them enough.
we give them enough time to get everything remediated and demolished. So I'm trying to figure out the best time frame for that. Because staff, how long would it take? I mean, someone applies for a demo permit, we have up to 14 days to approve that?
Yes, and some of the other conditions is that the state requires the applicant that's doing the asbestos check, because they already have to check with DAQ. They also need to apply for a demo permit with the state, and then they get the city permit on top of that. So it's 10 days for the state, 14 business days for the city, and then they can.
And then they have a time frame
The
specific
30
to that
days is
removal,
30 days from the issuance of the permit. So all of the,
regardless of the process.
Right, so they have to get everything put in place. Remediation for the asbestos probably doesn't fall on that demolition timeframe, right? So they would remediate and then they would do the full
Okay.
demolition.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
the-
it could be up to a month truly before they could get to the point where they could demo.
Correct.
You don't have asbestos. isn't
No,
that what you
we've
said
already
earlier?
done that. They've already submitted everything to the
For
state.
both? I mean, you
Yeah,
obviously
for
the
both
house.
buildings, we've had that done. They removed the asbestos from the buildings we've taken down, and then in the other buildings, there is none.
Okay.
So we've done lots of demolitions, and as you said, it could take up to, generally, we get them within 2 weeks, but it can take up to a month.
We don't have to take the 14 days, it just allows us to.
You know what, that's very similar to, he doesn't have to take 180, but you get to if you want to.
Mhm.
what we're saying is that upon review of all of that, once the city issues the demolition permit, the new permit is a 30-day permit from the issuance of that for them to be finished with the demo.
Okay.
And they don't have to wait till the other demolition's done
Correct.
necessarily.
Can I just ask for clarification? Are you only concerned about the demo cleanup of the buildings, or are you also talking about the improvements required for this subdivision?
Yes,
And a time frame. You know, you don't want to approve the rezone and then wait 4 years for it to get cleaned up, is my concern.
We're hoping to have these things sold this year. I mean, we're finishing up a big project here in 2 months, a build. So the builders, I've got to have them here building vertically here. So I'm hoping to be, once this meeting, if we were to be approved, our plans were to have building permits within 30 to 45 days and be getting to work on building the homes in 60 days. That's what we were hoping to do.
So you'd
The
have to
market's changed a
you'd
little,
have to
but
get all the demo done before any of that could be done.
I
Is
understand
that realistic?
yeah, we've got everything. That's why we've got I think, 60 to 90 days is realistic. I do. We've already, there was a bunch of old freezers in there, and that's the thing that maybe you don't understand. I mean, we've demoed a lot already, inside the store. It's basically a shell at this point. So for us, it's
So you
both.
feel end of October is more than enough time?
Yes, yeah. Let's see. Yep, that'd be 90 days.
That's 90.
Mhm.
And that includes the improvements, the services into the lots and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're here. We're ready to go to work on it.
You ready, Angie?
I am, nope,
What?
I'm writing it down, Mayor.
So are you saying the soda
I have-
machine is gone?
Hey, there is no soda machine in there. There is a big ice cream machine in there.
That soda machine was
It was
magic.
properly rigged.
It was. It was. They had that thing so fine tuned.
Yeah. Well, Harold, I know. Harold,
Just saying.
Only on the Pepsi.
Yep, Diet Pepsi was
Diet
perfect.
Pepsi.
It was just saying. If you'd have been here, you would have known, you would have tried it, you would have gone, okay, that's the best. It's gone.
I'm sorry, Joel, but there's still trees.
Trees.
The trees are very important. I will second that. I love the trees. Keep the trees. I'm sure the neighbors love the trees too.
Okay, before I make a motion, I'm just formulating this. So if we do approve the site plan with the development agreement, that the demolition and improvements.
Do you want to do a development agreement or on condition of the rezone?
Angie, do you want me to suggest language?
Would you, Jamie? Would be great.
You've been drafting it over here. this
So,
Oh,
whole
that's
time.
fantastic.
Instead of, I don't believe a development agreement is necessary. What you would insert into the ordinance is a new section titled Site Plan and Development Condition. And it would simply state this ordinance is specifically subject to and conditional upon the following. And then you can list whatever you'd like those conditions to be. And then at the end, it will read, in the event the above conditions are not met within 90 days of this ordinance being approved, then the zoning designation of the property shall revert to its current zoning.
We would hope that the clock would start at the pre-construction meeting when we had time to start the work.
That's fine.
Wait, what?
Do you want to just put just a date, like October 31st?
That's, yeah. So
Well, that's,
the
But
demo,
I
the
mean,
demo.
I mean, I don't want to be held accountable for time that I don't have to get things done. So I felt like the kickoff for me to be able to go to work would be the pre-construction meeting.
With the approval of the final plat tonight and the rezone, there's no reason they couldn't, as long as they have everything necessary for pre-construction, apply for a pre-construction meeting tomorrow, right? So
Yes, that could happen quickly.
Okay.
so the end of October, and that's 90 days. This should give you plenty of time.
All right.
And you agreed to that.
Hey, I'll take it, Mayor.
Okay.
I'm comfortable saying from the date of 90 days from the date of pre-construction, if that's the way you want to do it.
Are you making the demolition contingent on that as well?
Demo and improvements.
Improvement, site improvement.
And the
Yeah.
improvements in the improvement plans. Probably with the exception of the sidewalk.
We'll go for it. We'll get it, but I mean, we would
And
like,
include the sidewalk.
we'd probably like to bond for that. We've replaced so much sidewalk, we end up doing it twice. It's just, because you have machines.
Even at the heavier sidewalk?
Yeah, you guys really got us on that with all the fiber and we've had some cracked sidewalk, we have, but it's been less for sure. But you get a lot of subs coming.
They go over it.
on the timeframes, we can do it either way. I guess it's just up to the council on what type of fire we want to light underneath the development, right? That's your prerogative as a council. Not literally a fire, no arson, thank you. Although asbestos would be a problem, I guess.
Well, yeah, no, it's not curses over there.
It's currently zoned commercial, correct?
And the general plan does say residential moderate.
Okay, you guys, I hope I got this in. And we're talking about improvements for the site plan, correct, Brandon?
Yes. If you're including them all, you just say the improvement plans. So everything that's on the drawings in front of you.
Okay, I'm gonna take a stab at this. But first I gotta figure out what my resolution is.
Just remember,
Okay.
the ordinance is for the rezone and the resolutions for the final plat.
Okay, Jamie, all right. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve ordinance 2022-12, rezone for Sophia's Haven at approximately 1598 East South Weaver Drive from commercial to residential moderate by applicant Rob Edwards with the inclusion of a paragraph for site plan and development conditions subject to and a conditional upon the following: 90 days completion, to have all demo work completed and removed and all improvements per the site plan. In the event these conditions are not met by the zoning reverts back to the current zone of commercial.
Okay, I'll second that. With Jamie's nod, I'll second.
Second that. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote, starting with Councilman Halverson.
Nay.
Aye.
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 I don't believe I can get rid of commercial just because it's not viable today, doesn't mean it's not viable in 10 years. Our city needs it, so nay. And that's nothing to do
Okay.
with you and your plan.
That's a 3-2 motion, so motion will carry. So
Thank you,
we'll
Rob.
go into the
We need to do
resolution
the,
part of this.
Now the
one
resolution.
then, Resolution 22-38, final plat for Sophia's Haven at 1550 East South Weaver Drive. Motion on this resolution.
Do I need to do anything different?
no, this is just the final plat, so it's just that.
Did he forget that he was still another step?
I think he did.
So probably did.
Maybe he's rushing to get to work.
This is
on
the,
it.
I doubt it. Just so you know. Forewarning.
yeah, this is just the lines on the page subdividing the property and then the easement locations and things like that. Legal description, all that jazz. And it should be noticed site plan or the plat doesn't get recorded until the improvements are complete either.
All right, Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution 22-38, final plat for Sophia's Haven at approximately 1550 East South Weaver Drive by applicant Rob Edwards.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second.
Did you already second? I'll second it.
Motion and a second. We'll begin with a roll call vote. Councilman Beals.
Aye.
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 Guess it's already rezoned, so aye.
Okay, motion carries. Next item is resolution 22-39, Hill Air Force Base well license agreement. We discussed this in our last meeting. There's a few items that they wanted to tweak a little bit. Is that right?
Yes, there was some language there that they felt uncomfortable with based on federal law. So they worked with Jamie to adjust that so that it would meet our needs and meet their needs. It was about the indemnity clause.
Were they acceptable to all the other?
Yes. Yep, that's the only thing that they felt concerned about.
Sorry, my bad.
I was
I need some
thinking-
ointment. I'm gonna have some of that.
It's hay hauling season. I can't sit very long. Yeah. So they were unwilling to accept full indemnification language like we had asked, but they provided us something that I think is reasonable and is tailored to what they're going to be doing.
I'd like to make a motion.
Mayor, I'll make the motion that we move to approve resolution 22-39 Hill Air Force Base license agreement.
I second that.
Motion and a second. We'll do a roll call vote, starting with Councilman Beals.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Transportation Capital Facilities Plan. Someone here from that, ask him to come up and address it.
Mayor, you skipped an item.
I did?
Yeah. It's on the amended
But
agenda.
we can do that after.
But we can, yeah, we can,
Oh, I
it's
don't
really
have it.
tiny.
Yeah, so I don't have it in the
I'm
agenda.
proofreading and he doesn't have it on there.
We gave you the wrong agenda, apparently.
What's the amendment?
I don't know.
Just kidding, Jeremy.
Somebody want to read it for me?
What
I don't have
he's asking you what the amended item
It
is.
is resolution 22-40 firefighters retirement system admission
Oh,
and
yeah.
intent to contribute.
That
It was a
sent out
last
as
minute
an-
addition.
As an addendum, with the city making our fire chief position full-time, we have to
basically have a resolution from the city council that we will contribute to the public safety retirement with URS. We currently only have employees that are in the municipal employee category, so this is telling them that we would like to participate in that.
So Mayor, I would love to propose, or I don't know how to say that, that we switch these agenda items and do the transportation first.
Okay.
Do I need a motion for that, or?
You're up.
Thanks, Mayor. My name is Jeremy Searle. I'm with WCG. Excited to be here with you. We are working on the transportation master plan with the city, and I think that's moving along really well. A big part of that is to look at the area around 2700 East and to do a concept layout for that area. This good gentleman gave us a good introduction to start off, and I appreciate you looking into it. Thank you. I appreciate the comments and people looking into that, and that we'll talk about those issues that he brought up today. So, so thank you. To start off, so thank you, Lisa. She's got that up on the screen. A few things. Last time, my colleague Paul was here. He's our lead designer. I was out of town, so I couldn't make it, but I'm the project manager for this. Here we show concept here at 2700 East and South Weber Drive. We were asked to look at this area considering new commercial development that would take place here, to look at it from a traffic operations, a safety perspective. I want to remind you that this is a concept, right? This isn't the final design. That's nothing set in stone. We do want to be very responsive to your feedback and to what you see the needs here are. And we also want to provide our recommendations for what we think will operate the best and provide good safety for the community. A few things to point out. Last time you saw one with an eastbound right turn pocket there by the Maverick. That has been removed. We did a traffic operations analysis here, found that that was not required, and I'll go into that operations difference in a minute. And that was something that we had originally proposed, but then kind of went back and forth on if we're going to rebuild this whole thing, should we include it? But from a cost and an operations perspective, it's really not necessary. So to point out, I think there was a comment earlier about the digital sign. With this, that would need to be relocated. However, the really large Maverick pole, that could stay in place.
So you're saying either plan, whether it was with the road going through or this, the sign is still going to have to be moved?
Yeah, when this is constructed. That doesn't mean it has to happen tomorrow, right? But if this were to be built, yes. This does rely on some assumptions, right? We are widening a little bit to the south. You could potentially widen to the north, although there's not a lot of room there. And it also is harder to align through the intersection. And this is a UDOT roadway. Those lanes have to line up exactly, or UDOT won't approve it. And so really this is, in our recommendation, the best way to do that. If we could go to, well, before I go on to the second page, let's talk about the raised median for a second.
You won't convince me, but you can go ahead.
Okay. I know the raised medians are never popular, right? I totally understand that. The only reason we have recommended it here is for safety reasons. Okay, right now the Maverick is operating well. It's the only thing out there, right? It's not super busy yet. In the future, when all this develops and this all becomes commercial, this is going to be a busy roadway. That's one of the reasons we have more lanes here. It's not just one lane each direction. We have 2 lanes each direction. When you get that busy, you start to see conflicts with left turns. And that's especially true as we get close to the signalized intersection. We have queues that will back up on this roadway, and will make it difficult for those left turns to occur. As a side note, we at WCG, we help manage the state's highway safety improvement program. We do a lot of work with safety. Raised medians really improve, reduce left turning crashes. And we recommend those in a lot of places. They're always painful. The public always is not in favor of them very often. but they do their job. That is one of the reasons why we recommend a roundabout to the south. Okay, we want to make it easy for people to make a left turn by going south, go around the roundabout, and come back. That's a different type of intersection. That's much more difficult maneuver to occur. One thought with the raised median, you could, I would recommend that you build it when this road is widened to 5 lanes. That's the perfect time to do it. It's part of the construction. That's when things will be busy. However, you could wait on that, monitor crashes, and as they start to rise, you could put in the raised median at a later time. So, any questions on the raised median?
I guess, and like or dislike the raised median, my concern is more with the traffic, and it's the large semi-traffic. You got the pits, the semis that are going out and having to turn right and then go down and around. I mean, a car, I could care less
Out
if
of
they have-
out of the Maverick.
out of the
you're
Maverick.
saying.
That is the flow. They come in right now. The semis are going in that way. And that's the way their diesel pumps are set up to go out, or a large trailer or something. And they got an RV dump and all of that stuff over there. They all are going to go out and have to go around a roundabout. I know they can do it so that the back tires can go over but they're going to be going over it because they're huge. I mean, it's not little ones. They're doubles pulling and.
No, you're right. So the two thoughts there. They can use the other access and make a right turn out of that. And
they won't make it around. You can't make it. A big trailer like that can't go around through Maverick and go back out the other
around
side.
the store and back up to the front.
No.
Blair, could the direction just be reversed? So they come
They would have to
in
turn
on
left at the light
2700?
and come in that way. It's just, they're not set up currently to go in and out that way. You can turn in. I've pulled a 53-foot trailer down through there. But you could do it. I don't know if a double belly could or not, but I mean,
Yeah, that would certainly be safer to have them make a left turn at the light where they have a protected phase, and then they could turn right into Maverick and then turn right out of Maverick. So that'd be a safe way. However, let's talk about the roundabout for a second. Do you mind if we shift a couple pages
sorry,
down?
I didn't mean to. I know.
No,
you've got more
We'll
on
come back
raised
to the
median.
we'll come back to the
Well,
median.
no, you summed it up. I mean, I don't like them. That's
Yeah.
granted, but for this particular area, that is my biggest concern is we're sending all of our biggest trucks up a roundabout.
Yep.
And I still really feel that, there's 3 hours of the day where it's going to be hard to make a left turn, but the other 21, it will be just fine. So I still struggle with that, but those big trucks I have a very big concern.
Well, and similarly, it's going to be very difficult for a truck of that size to make a left turn on that road, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we talk about cars and safety.
For sure it is.
But for a truck to make that.
It's hard for them now.
Yeah.
I will give you that too. I mean, it is.
And as soon as you fill that up with commercial, that's going to be so much worse for those trucks to do that.
But isn't it harder for them to make a sharp right turn?
That's
on
what I
that
was just
street?
going to ask.
Because
If
they're
you
gonna
were,
have to go clear out into the northbound lane.
That's why I think you
in
can't
order
do it.
to
Well, they'll
even
have
go
two
south.
southbound lanes, so they can take both lanes to do that.
Yeah,
The
right.
road will be wider.
Because he said, don't do it until you get to 5 lanes wide.
Right. Yeah.
wait, no, I'm sorry. I want to go back. So if they were to turn left at the light and then turn into the Maverick on the south side, and if they go out the right and go out the north and go right, is that too narrow? Like if you had your truck and your 53-foot trailer.
You can go, I mean, you can get into their pumps.
Yeah, but
I just don't know.
getting
how
onto South
they're-
Weaver Drive, would that
Like
be?
if you look at Maverick's flow, that's not the way that was laid out.
Yeah.
And that's why the pumps are pushed back to the south
Right,
so that they can get lined up and go through the pumps.
yeah.
But I'm not saying it can't be done. That's not their current layout, especially when they laid out the Maverick and the pumps and showed the flow of the traffic through there.
Well, it's something we don't have control over either. I mean,
Right.
I
don't.
like the idea that we can go on and change things and they can, go in this way and out, but Maverick they're one of our golden geese right now, and I don't see anything that would prevent them from staying as popular they are with the trucks that a few years ago went someplace else to get gas from doing it. I would definitely rather that be here. So it is quite important.
Yeah.
We do have, I'm sorry,
No, I
sorry.
interrupted you.
Just something Brown and Jones brought up was the road, it's not on this map, but there is the road behind Maverick on the south side that would be into the property to the west of Maverick also. So they could, is that making sense? They could line up for the diesel and then they go west and go out and go on to South Weaver Drive.
Yeah.
Just something.
So the property
So
next to them
between
has a
them
shared
and Highmark.
access agreement, yeah.
Sorry,
No,
I will let you speak.
that's a great point, thank you. So one possibility is they could turn left at the light and come around.
Yeah.
The other is that they continue to use the same route that they do now, but they turn right out of Maverick and they come down to the roundabout. This roundabout is designed for a WV67, which is the largest semi. That's a UDOT, that's UDOT's largest design vehicle that they use. We could also run truck turning templates on a double belly pub if that makes sense. Again, this is a concept. It's certainly not the final design. That can be rearranged to make sure that trucks can make that U-turn. This is slightly different, again, than what you saw last time. We, again, are recommending a 5-lane road up near the signal. But as we get further down past this commercial, that need goes away, and that's why it narrows down to 1 lane each direction. Originally, we had designed it so that we dropped the lane at the roundabout. We've updated that based on the feedback that we heard last time, so that that lane drops actually at the access before, and we only have a single southbound lane coming into the roundabout. So we no longer have that bypass, which was impacting that property on the northwest corner. So that's a much smaller impact. It is still a large roundabout that trucks can make that U-turn or left turn movement. In the northbound direction, we do pick up that additional lane here. You'll see there's a right turn bypass lane at the roundabout that becomes its own lane heading north. So those are some adjustments that we've made to the roundabout.
If I understand that correctly, the diesel would come around, they would do the roundabout, they would go, and then their next move is literally to move into that right lane so that they can turn and go onto the freeway. And you're saying that's where you're directing all of the commercial traffic that's coming from the proposed development?
Yeah, they get their own lane there. So you're right, the truck would have to merge, but they've got a decent distance to do that up before the signal.
Yeah, I'm sure you are very good at your job and your company is fantastic and everything like that. So it's nothing that direction. It just really seems that the Maverick and when it actually does really wasn't taken into consideration with it, because I just see everything on it almost going contrary to what having that Maverick and that huge amount of traffic does. So I still have issues looking at this because of where we're trying to send the trucks. And I mean, most people, if they don't like turning to the left because of the median, fine, they will take South Weaver Drive and they will go the other direction. But I mean, there's many times during the day when that's one of the exact opposites of what we want people to be doing because of the charter school. So I just still have problems with it.
So what's our alternative?
I would say get rid of the median so that during the most part of the day, or if the trucks feel that it is safe or clear, that they can do it. And then if not, then they can go down and make the turnaround. I don't think the plan.
So can I just play
Please,
devil's
yeah,
advocate
please.
on that side? So I was ready to approve the last plan because this is just a concept plan. And that's why, I mean, my questions are just getting clarification because I'm okay.
Yeah.
If we don't, so let's say we don't put the median in right off the bat, 25 years from now, when all this gets to 5 lanes and all of that, because I don't see this happening in the next 5 years. But even if it does, we could do just what he said, the median doesn't go in, but then we determine that there are some accidents or whatever, and we have to put that median in. Right. And we didn't collect impact fees based on having to put that median in. It's then now coming out of general fund. So which would we rather do? Project it out and have it in there if needed? And I'm not saying it all gets collected right now. It's just put in the big pot of impact fees, I'd rather include it in case we need it than not include it just because we don't see the flow of it. I mean, another council is going to make this decision. I almost guarantee you, it's none of us sitting here of whether this roundabout's going in and whether that median's going in and whether the double left turn's going in.
So you don't think that the next council that does have to deal with this will just immediately adopt these plans and go, oh, they've already gone through the due diligence.
It's come
this
back
is what they've
before
seen."
every council on every other street decision we've made.
Yeah.
12-5, I mean, all of the other ones.
And to be fair, these are concept. It's going to have to go through a whole design process. You're going to have another engineer looking at this and say, do we need to do this? Is there a different way to look at it? That happens through every design project. And I do just want to make one other note here. As long as you build it wide enough to accommodate the raised median, raised median is not that expensive to put in later. So that certainly is a viable option, right, to add it later. We were asked to look at this from a safety perspective, and trying to do that, we feel like this is a way to address and have the safest road possible. But again, it's something you can add later, or leave it open and have a traffic engineer study it 10 years from now, and I think they'll give you a very similar recommendation, but that's okay.
Well, Michelle's been here for 28 years. do we just blank it approve?
If I could just remind the reason that WCG was hired to do what they're doing, and the reason that we actually broke out this area of the city was because as you try to put on your long-term, glasses and look down the road, pun intended, right? You see that? See what I did there? In all seriousness, though, I think this section of town needs some serious planning. And so I'm just telling you from my perspective and my professional opinion, we need to be prepared to do something significant here. And although it seems right now, because you just have Maverick and you're just getting the car wash, that it seems like it's no big deal. I'm telling you, if we don't plan for it, we'll kick ourselves later. And so I agree with Councilman Halverson. I would prefer that you put in more of the worst case scenario. And if down the road we realize or decide like we don't want to do the median or whatever, then we have that option.
But if that's the case, then why are we paying you? And I'm not trying to be rude. Honestly, I'm not. If we're just doing this and it's not what any agree or all agree or whenever everyone votes for if this isn't what they would have gone with, why would we do that? Because right now we do know what Maverick is like. We do know what the charter school is like, and we know what that area is like. And to approve it thinking, well, somebody will change it later on. That's the confusing part for me.
I don't think you will.
I wasn't saying that it wouldn't be done. I'm just saying, I mean, we're looking in the future. If we have all those developments there, your opinion, my opinion may be completely different.
Yeah.
And we may need a raised median. Maybe there's been 20 car wrecks there.
People may be asking for it.
I have no idea. I mean,
Parsons may close up.
and that council at that time, and you may be on it still, because I'm going to just keep voting you in. And so.
Show me that.
I want to get that ballot. I don't believe it. Churn everything. Picture message.
But no, that is, I would curse the day that we didn't. I mean, we look back at so many projects in this city that we said, why did they not think worst case scenario? And what we would change on it, I actually like this better because I didn't love coming way into the Maverick property, and I didn't love some of the things, and they've reduced some of the roundabouts so it's not encroaching on people's private property so much. But I think, I mean, and I'm not a roundabout fan, but I still think that I'd rather have a roundabout there and get them back out of the city than not have a roundabout there.
Yeah, so my concern was the last time was mostly that right lane. And that just stems from the fact that whatever we do here is going to reflect in our our building permits and our impact fees now, so that affects the people who are building. I don't definitely want to plan worst case scenario, but I also not to the point that our fees are so high, you know. So the right lane, that was my biggest question, was if it was absolutely necessary, not because I understand that the median's not very expensive and probably, you know, I like the idea of, you know, wait 5 years and see how it goes, but that right lane was the one that I really had a question on, because that one seemed pretty significant in cost if we didn't absolutely need to do that. So I'm glad to get some clarification on that. I did have a question. Did you guys also study the grade of the road, like the letter grade, whether it was like a D or a C?
Yes, and we're going to talk about that.
Okay, great.
Yes, thank you.
Mhm.
Before we jump to that, what else do I want to point out? Can we go to the second page, the one right above this? Okay, so we added what we call half pork chops or a raised island at those center access there for a very similar reason. It allows a left turn in from the main road, but it doesn't allow a left turn out. So again, you would make a right, go around the roundabout, and then head up to the signal. Is that?
Wait, what?
Okay.
Haley got confused when you started talking about pork chops.
Yeah.
You lost me.
Need some pizza.
It's not a
I might be
great
hungry.
You're talking about 80. So 8300, they can't turn left. They got to go right into the roundabout. That's what you're saying.
That's correct. Yep, you can still turn left into those accesses, but you can't turn left out. You would have to go to the roundabout to come out.
Are you hot?
No, I'm good.
So, yeah, that's a bad term, the pork chop, but
Okay.
it's just that little concrete island to
Okay.
restrict those.
So, quick question. I apologize, not for you, but for staff. Okay, so where we have this pork chop, I love it. Okay, pork chop,
Half pork chop.
it's a half pork. I can see that. Okay, half pork chop. It would currently be going, if we approve this tonight, then future applications for zoning on this property would need to include this intersection?
So what we would look at in any of the element case is what's the traffic study say? What's the traffic impact for your development say? And then we'll determine what mechanisms at that point would need to be in place. So the half pork chop could be something that's added much later when like they said, we start seeing collisions and things like that that are impeding traffic on that. And so the city council then can look at it later, right? And so we can say, okay, something's wrong with this road. We have a lot of left-hand wrecks at that intersection. We have this concept of, there was a concept for half pork chops. Is that still viable? We look at the traffic study and we can.
But it allows you to make the road wide enough.
Correct.
Put that in later.
Right.
Correct. And half pork chops are always a viable option.
Yep. 6 ounces.
Right, right.
So,
Can I,
hold on, just 1 second. Okay, but the location of this is approximate.
Correct.
We can have our pork chops wherever we want them.
Mm-hmm. And we could want a full pork chop at that point, right? But we would have to pay for that additional, because
Pork chop.
we'd have to pay a little bit extra out of the general fund instead of impact fees, right?
Right, okay.
Because we didn't.
Thank
plan
you.
for a
Sorry,
full pork
David.
chop.
We've referenced a number of times in the future when accidents happen.
Yeah.
And I would like to point out that there are other reasons why we might want to include some of these elements beyond just accidents. There are a lot of other factors.
And for the record,
Thank you.
I would rather start with the safer option. That's just me. And
As a
rather
safety
than
proponent, I agree. And that's why it's in the recommendation.
and see. So that's just my thought. But just for clarification, that intersection that you're looking at is located at where the southern access for the car wash is.
Okay.
To put it in
That was what I
perspective.
was gonna ask, actually, Brendan.
Yes. So based on last meeting, when you wanted commercial to go here, that'd be another good reason to make this a kind of dedicated access to that property, because we do not want to add any more access on this road.
Correct. And it's really just a hop, skip, and a jump on the grill from the pork chop to the roundabout.
Yes,
Correct.
which is a reason you don't really need to allow lefts right here. You're very close in proximity to the roundabout, so.
Which we'll call a rotisserie now.
No, I was trying to think of something. Thank you, Joel.
She usually doesn't lose it until after 9 o'clock.
know.
We're a little early tonight.
That's perfect. We'll call it the rotisserie. No, that's good. Love it.
I love everything about this plan.
You had me
That's right.
Can we go to the, I don't know if it's on the next page, it's the one that shows the overpass.
Yes, previous page, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess the simple question is, I don't understand what's going on there.
Yeah, let me explain what's going on here. So as we met with city staff, we were informed of a operational issue that occurs here where everyone uses the outside lane through this area. The reason they do that is because both southbound and northbound on the US 89 comes out of that lane. And so everyone wants to be in that lane. Nobody goes straight, or very few people go straight. Oh,
We go straight.
I go straight.
Okay, we have a few that go straight.
There's only
two that
4
live over
houses
there.
over there, don't worry.
You're in the minority.
I know. Always, always.
But most don't. Most are in that outside lane, and there's a congestion issue and a lane usage issue. And so as we talked to staff, Brandon said, we need to come up with some way to fix that issue. And so as we thought about that, this is what we came up with. So on the left side of the screen, there's a dedicated right turn pocket to southbound US 89. You should only be in that lane if you're going southbound on 89. If you're going northbound, you should be on the inside lane. That inside lane will take you across the bridge, and then it will open up to another right turn pocket where you can go northbound on 89. So that way we're splitting that traffic into 2 lanes. Northbound is on the inside lane, southbound US 89 is on the outside. And that way we utilize both and kind of fix that congestion issy there.
But this one shows the inside lane going into the line, which I would assume is another median or something. Am I reading that wrong?
well,
That's all I see. I
could
see
we zoom in a
south
little
going
bit
straight
into
in.
that? So I think part of the issue here is we also have to make room for the dual lefts. Okay, so we have to make room for those dual lefts. And so that inside lane, yep, we've zoomed in a little bit. The inside lane goes straight into the overpass, and then it tapers back.
So we're funneling, so we're taking just one lane, we're taking 2 lanes and
No,
going
we're
down to
taking the
one.
outside lane.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I drive in the
outside lane
striped
is the one
line?
that goes south.
I'm gonna drive there anyway.
We would add a new right turn pocket to go south. That's why.
It lines up.
I see.
It lines up with the other one.
I see.
And if you actually go back to the signal at Maverick, what we're suggesting is that you would actually paint, on the lanes. This is northbound, this is southbound, so people can get in the correct lanes before they even go through the signal.
I got it. I see it now.
Does that make sense?
Yep, I saw the double line
Can we
finally.
go back one page to the signal?
The only problem is the complaint we get from the residents down that way is that they'll now be in that outer lane and have to get over fast. And people are just guessing that they go anyway. Now they're gonna really guess that they go.
So again, as Brandon mentioned, we plan to have signs and pavement messages to show which lane you should be in.
But I'm saying, so they're going this way and if you're pushing them over into the left-hand lane. So, but for the people going south, no, the people going north.
Mm-hmm.
So they go down, they go around the loop, but they're staying out here. Well, the people waiting that have just come off of 89 are just assuming that everybody's turning there and they're just cutting out. Well, they're gonna do that even more so now. And then if someone's in that left-hand lane, they're gonna go.
See, I think that'll actually help your problem, because right now it's the same lane.
It's not though, there's 2 lanes there.
There's 2 lanes there.
There's
And
2
if you're in
lanes.
the right-
So
If you're in the right-hand lane, you should be turning. That's the turn-only lane.
I
Okay.
get
Oh, I see
cut
what
off
you're saying.
on a daily basis.
I get clear over
Yeah.
in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
I'm almost over in the other lane.
Okay, so I guess let me rephrase that. It won't, It won't change from what's out there now, because you'll have a right turn pocket. Anyone that's going northbound will move over. People at the interchange will easily see that you're moving over to that right turn lane. Others are going
It'll
straight.
help it'll help going that way.
It will help.
It's not, it
Just-
almost makes the.
It's, you guys just need to have your hand on your horn ready. Angie's-
do.
Angie's
I
getting really good at
do.
it. I'm talking about in the
And I
future.
think it's something that can be
Yeah.
worked out later.
It-
I'm not-
yeah.
That's not.
Just to add
But if we
context,
approve it now, Blair,
just to add context, so this would most likely be striping, right? So striping is a less cost
Yeah,
intensive.
we're not redoing
thing.
this overpass.
So we're not redoing overpass.
Correct.
One other consideration to just think about, and there's nothing final on this, but in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll have an updated interchange and 89 access. And so it could be a signalized, it could be, they could reorient the on-ramps. Nothing's off the table yet. I just got done with a UDOT meeting with that. So that whole area could significantly alter. So that's the importance of, as this is a concept plan, and that as we get closer to needing to make the change, that's when we need to fully engineer the solution.
And thank you, Trevor. And to that end, this is a UDOT road. They will fully vet anything that's proposed on here and go through it in detail. So on either side, thank you.
Right. Again, we're just trying to capture the scope, making sure we have enough lanes and that. So the reason we brought this up is because we are suggesting a dedicated right-hand turn lane, which is more than what is currently there. So that's why it needs to be on this plan if we're going to add it. The striping is nothing. Well, that can be changed, but adding the lane needs to be in the plan if we're doing it.
So the one question I had was just to understand the cost difference of having the right-hand lane dedicated or not. You know, are we talking, what impact is that going to have on our impact fees? You know, is it $10 or is it $10,000? You know,
Yep.
That's what I was asking for, because if it's all minor, it's only $10 for this, $10 for that, then yeah, I agree with Blair. Let's just, okay, do the whole thing, make sure we've got everything covered and we're good. But if we're asking an impact fee that's going to increase it, you know, thousands of dollars because we're adding something, that's what I wanted to understand.
Okay. So Lisa, I've got several pages here. I've got a level of service page that we're going to go through in just a minute. But let's go to the very last page if we could. And then, yeah, we'll go through these others in a minute.
And I'm sorry, just, is there a reason this wasn't included in our packet?
The turnaround time was pretty quick.
Okay.
So they needed a little extra time to get this ready for tonight.
Yeah.
We probably wouldn't have had so many questions if we'd been able to go through it. Thank you.
No, that's fine. And Lisa, do you mind zooming in on that table just a touch? Okay, so cost estimates. These are high level. I've rounded them, as you can tell, but we've gone through and done cost estimates for each of these. So the first is, and we split these into different pieces. So the first is just the intersection improvements at South Weber Drive. This includes the dual left turn lanes, the striping over the structure, that right turn to southbound US 89, and that raised median on the South Lake. So that whole intersection project is roughly $1 million. The 2700 East widening, so basically from the median down to the roundabout, around 620,000, and then the roundabout itself around 900,000.
Jeremy, these are today's dollars, correct?
Today's dollars. Yep. Yep. And if you were to plan for this in the future, we can adjust for inflation into the future.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. All right. And then there were questions about different alternatives, right? So the eastbound right turn pocket on South Weber Drive that goes into the Maverick, that's roughly $300,000. And that includes the relocation of the large Maverick sign. When you look at this for impact fees, 300.
Sorry, does that include the purchase of property and things as well
Yeah.
through that 300,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a strip take there. When you look at that through impact fees, so you got to remember, yes, that would be adding $300,000 to your total impact fee eligible cost, but you divide that out by the total number of new trips, which are usually in the 20 to 30,000. So you're talking each is going to be raised I have to do math, but it's not significant. It's, I don't know, $50 a house or something like that. Those are really rough. We will be doing the impact fee calcs as we get closer, but.
And that, and Zion's bank will be working with them to do the actual impact fee analysis.
Correct.
So WCG is doing the capital facilities plan and the impact fee facilities plan. And based on their cost estimates, we'll work with Zion's to do the impact fee analysis. So to give exact numbers that we're just not to that point yet.
Right. The other question that we heard was, well, what if the roundabout was a signal or something else, right? Signal with the turn pockets and stuff, you're looking around 400,000. The roundabout is a little more expensive at 900. However, there's some significant benefits to the roundabout. So let's talk about that. If we could go up, I think it's let's go up 3 pages. Yeah, we'll get to this in a second. Keep going a little bit further. All right, so this is the level of service analysis comparison between some different options at this intersection. If it'll load here. So the first thing we looked at was a roundabout, and these are all for future 2050. We looked at stop signs here, and then we looked at a signal. Just as an FYI. Yeah.
Thank you. Help me understand level of service.
Yes, level of service is a measure that we use for intersections to show how well they operate. So very similar to school. If you have a A, B, or C, you're doing great.
So
D, E, or F, you're failing.
Going from a B to a C, how drastic of a change is that? Are we just talking, now you're going to have a slowdown during rush hour, or
so
help me?
Yep, we look at this during the peak hour. So this is rush hour in the evening, morning and evening. We did both. And it's an average delay per vehicle. So some vehicles will zip right through, some will have to sit and wait for a while. So we're looking at the average of all of them that go through during that time period. And then
so that's traffic flow. This doesn't have anything to do on safety wise?
The level of service is purely a measure of delay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
There is supposed to be more. I'm not sure why it's not updating.
You should try stop sharing your screen and then see if it loads it better and then reshare.
Yeah, that is strange there. I'm sorry.
Try zooming out and zoom back in.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Hey, there we go. Let's keep it right there for a second. All right. So the roundabout operates really well. It's level of service A. Roundabouts are really efficient from a traffic operations perspective. You don't have to stop, right? When you come to a signal, if it's a red light, you have to stop, right? Roundabouts, you don't have to. It's pretty free flowing, and so they operate really well. The next one is stop signs. They actually operate pretty well. They're a level service B, so it's not a ton of delay. That's still acceptable. Part of that is because we have the 5 lanes to the north, right? And that helps kind of spread out and give some gaps for those vehicles. The last one we looked at is a signal. That also is a level service A, although a little bit slower or a little bit more delay than a roundabout. But a signal works really well here because you can run it free, which means it's not on set signal timing. You can have your radar detect when cars are there on the side streets and leave it green on the main line unless there's cars on the side. So it runs pretty efficient here. Along a lot of UDOT roadways, they have to coordinate them, and so they're not quite as efficient as you could do here. That being said, our projections for this area don't show that this intersection would meet signal warrants. So technically, I don't think you would meet the criteria to put a signal here. Roundabout, there's not criteria for that. You can put those anywhere.
I'm sorry, Trevor, could we continue to call that a rotisserie?
No, I'm sorry. Rotisserie. My mistake. So,
Jeremy.
Jeremy? Oh,
I'll give you permission to.
I'm not asking, Trevor, but I did.
No, it's all good. So let's talk about roundabouts for a second, because some people love them, some people are hesitant on them. I'm a big fan. So can we go to the next page?
I know, yeah. It's great. I love them.
Good. So this is some information that we helped UDOT put together on these. But from a safety perspective, roundabouts are a huge improvement from almost any other type of intersection. When you put in a signal, crashes usually go up. When you put in a roundabout, crashes go way down. And not just a little bit, but 88%. You're eliminating almost 90% of the crashes that would otherwise occur at this intersection. So it's a huge benefit. And the ones that do occur have a lower severity than otherwise. At a signal, you often get T-bone or angle crashes, right? And those can be pretty severe. At a roundabout, because everyone's kind of going around and merging, if you do have a crash, it's at a low speed and low angle, and so it's usually just property damage. And so anyway, so that is a huge benefit to roundabouts. Another is that it slows speeds down, which we often hear complaints about speed from neighbors, right? Traffic calming. They often look better. You can put landscaping in the middle, things like that. As long as they're designed properly, you can have large trucks go around them, make U-turns. There's a lot of really good benefits with roundabouts. They are a little bit more expensive to install initially, but we've done a lot of studies that show that over time, they are actually more cost effective than signals. Signals have continuing equipment and maintenance and retiming and different things that you have to do over time. Whereas a roundabout, the initial cost is the installation. And then after that, it's pretty minimal. You have to, do roadway maintenance just like you would any other road, and some landscaping. But beyond that, it's pretty low maintenance.
Jeremy, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
As you talk about safety, can you address pedestrian safety at roundabouts?
Yes, that's often a question. Pedestrian safety has also been shown to have fewer crashes at roundabouts. The reason for that is instead of crossing multiple lanes, you're only crossing one lane at a time. So when you get up to the roundabout, you're only looking at the one lane that's coming toward you. And if that's clear, you can cross. And then you have a median refuge, that's what we call it, in the middle where you're in that median. And then you can make the next crossing.
Who makes these names, just out of curiosity?
Traffic engineers. We love our awesome names. We're a different breed. I know there's always concern about roundabouts because you don't have to stop, right? It's a yield condition, but they do reduce crashes for pedestrians. The national, and I'm going to get the name wrong, but the National School Organization has adopted them as a preferred crossing method for schools. Say it again.
The NEA, the National Association of Transportation Officials?
No, I think it is the NEA.
National Education Association?
Agency?
No, that's not right. There's I'll have to find it. There is one that has recommendations on what types of crossings for near schools, and roundabouts is one of those that's recommended. Does that answer questions on pedestrian safety?
Yes.
On the roundabout, what about down on the other end? On the roundabout, but down on the South Weaver side, going across over to like Burley and of course to the Park and Ride.
Crosswalks down at the main intersection.
Oh, I have a
signal?
question.
Mhm.
Yeah, down at the
They'll
south.
stay the same.
Yeah, there will be crosswalks at the signal, and you push the button just like you do now.
So it's just going to stay the same. There's no, didn't look at safety on that. It was still flow.
So yeah, it'd be the same pedestrian crossings at the signal.
Well, but now you're crossing multiple.
It's longer, yeah. So the signal timing would change because you'd have a longer crossing, so they'd allow more time for that.
Right,
to
I
occur.
understand that.
Okay.
I'm saying over the 5, it doesn't change the potential for accident for it. Because I would assume that if you're crossing 4 lanes versus
Okay.
crossing 5 or 6 lanes,
I
that
see
there
what
would be
you're
an increase of, or a decrease in safety and an increase in pedestrian involved accidents.
Yeah, great question. So it is further, and that is less comfortable for a pedestrian, potentially more opportunity for crashes for pedestrians. However, In this case, we're adding dual lefts from westbound to southbound. Dual lefts are different than what you have now. Now, I believe it's a flashing yellow arrow, right? So you have times where it's permitted to turn left while pedestrians can cross. So you could be looking to see if there's oncoming traffic while you have this flashing yellow arrow. There's no oncoming traffic. Okay, I'm going to turn, but there's a pedestrian there. That is less safe than when you have dual lefts. When you have dual left turn lanes, it's a protected phase, which means you can only turn when there's a green arrow. There's no flashing yellow like that. It only goes when there's a green arrow, and pedestrians are not allowed to cross when there's a green arrow. So it actually, with dual lefts, it actually increases the pedestrian safety because you don't have those permitted lefts that could hit pedestrians in that case, although it is a longer distance for them to cross.
Okay, thank you.
All right. If we could scroll down just a touch, I just want to point this out. One of the ways, yeah, right there is fine. One of the ways that roundabouts improve safety is they reduce the number of conflict points. And so you can see that diagram there. There's all those dots and all those places where cars cross paths. And then you look at the roundabout. Yeah, zoom in there and touch. The roundabout has very few conflict points. You see there's only, what, I guess 8 dots there. Whereas a normal intersection, I can't remember the exact number, but it's like 28 dots or conflict points. So that hopefully helps describe how roundabouts improve safety there. All right, can we go up 2 pages? Sorry, I know I'm jumping all over here. We already talked about the level of service at that intersection. I have one more.
All of those roundabout numbers, are those your numbers or are they sourced out there?
The ones on that sheet,
Yeah,
those are national studies.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised on that. It's really good.
Yeah, those are national studies. Keep going. It's the first, keep going down. It's the first one right there that's different. Yeah. If we could look at that one for a second. So Council Member Alberts, you asked about the level of service with the right turn pocket. And if this loads, we'll look at it. But while that's loading, so without the right turn pocket, it operates at a C. With the right turn pocket, it still operates at a level of service C.
And what is it currently?
That's a great question. These are future 2050 numbers. Right now, we looked at it as what, a B, I think.
A or B.
Yeah.
It's not.
Okay, thank you.
It's doing pretty well.
Okay,
Yeah.
so when you say that grade
Zoom
A or
out,
B, do you mean just cars turning right, or do you mean
That's the intersection as a whole.
intersection as a whole? Okay.
Yep. So there would be a little bit more delay for cars turning right, but the intersection as a whole, still level service C. It does raise your average delay, but it's still within that same threshold, still operates well. And these are future 2050 numbers, so
Okay.
we're out there with.
And that's the reason that you felt comfortable eliminating it.
Correct. So I know we've gone through a lot of information. I hope I've answered the questions that you brought up last time, but I'm happy to answer other questions that you have.
So what is 2,700? What is it currently and what does it go to? Okay, sorry.
Rating
Do you know
wise?
what, yeah, rating wise, grading wise,
As level of service.
currently, yeah.
So currently, well, there's 2 ways to rate level of service, right? There's intersections, which
Mhm.
we've talked about, and so
Right.
you know those. And then there's the roadway itself, and those are judged more on total capacity,
Uh-huh.
right? So the total capacity of the road is really good. It's an A or a B right now.
Okay,
That will fail. It'll go to failing conditions when all this commercial comes in,
Okay.
if nothing is
if
done.
nothing, but if we do these
If we do
changes,
these, then it goes to 5 lanes, and then you're back to level of service A or B.
thank you.
Yep.
That sounds like we should plan for that. Are we looking for a motion or?
Just need an approval.
I think what,
We don't need a motion, I think just an approval, isn't it?
To like accept it or?
We don't need to make a motion to approve?
I don't think so.
I think it would be beneficial to make it very clear which version of the plan you want and which elements of the plan you want to be
Yes.
put into the final capital facilities plan. So staff, WCG has direction on how to proceed, what should be included in the CFP, so that can then go through the process. The CFP would be finalized at a later date and come back for the council's final
So
adoption. of
since
the
my
CFP.
motion last week got denied, I'm gonna make another motion.
Wait, I have a question
Yes.
for him, for you, Jeremy.
Yes.
It's a stupid question, but I just like to ask him. You said you can put a roundabout basically anywhere, right? Like there's not really any,
Right, there's federal criteria where you can put signals, there's
Mhm.
not for roundabouts.
so being that roundabouts lower accidents so much,
Mhm.
why not just put it in the intersection?
Where the signal is?
Is it because there's so much traffic?
Well, there's a couple reasons. Yeah, once you get above a certain threshold, roundabouts struggle, or you have to add more lanes, and no one wants a 3-lane roundabout. They have them in Europe, right?
I was gonna say.
They're kind of confusing.
In fact, I actually just got back from Europe, and they have roundabouts everywhere. They use them everywhere, and they're
Mhm.
awesome, and they work really smoothly. So UDOT is making a mind shift here. This is a UDOT road, okay? And forever, they have loved signals because they can control them.
Mhm.
What they do is they give much more green time to the UDOT road and hardly any to the side street where the city is. And that's understandable because the UDOT road has the higher amount of traffic, but that's what they do and they can control it. So that's been their biggest thing is they've traditionally put signals everywhere. As lately, there's been more of a push for safety, and they are starting to look at roundabouts more and more. And you'll start to see those pop up more on UDOT roads. However, they're still very careful about them. They don't want them on their biggest roads because, again, you don't want 3-lane roundabouts, right? And so they'll still put signals. And a lot of their corridors are established signalized corridors, right? So it doesn't make sense on, I don't know, Riverdale Road, right? Where you've got all these signals to replace one with a roundabout and have the rest be signals, right? And so it's a slow process for UDOT, but they are making that mind shift to start doing more roundabouts. Here, you already have a signal. It's already in place. It's working well. And the cost to change it is a lot. So I don't think
It would have to be so large that it would impact the commercial
right
viability and
I
access.
figured so much. I was just curious and just kind of thinking ahead of 2100 East and South River Drive
Yep.
and the future of that potential of a roundabout eventually.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
No, it's a great question. And UDOT, anyway, I won't go into it, but they're definitely doing a lot more.
They're control freaks is what you're trying not to say, right? I'm just kidding. Okay, go ahead, Blair.
Okay. So Mayor, I make a motion to approve. Is that what you want as approval? Okay, approval for the Transportation Capital Facilities Plan 2700 East Area Concept Plan as presented on 7/26/2022 council meeting.
As is, right?
As is. That's why, yeah, date, as this concept is.
Yeah.
Not last time. This.
Okay,
I'll second that.
we got a motion and a second. Want to do a roll call or just, vote?
Just voice call is fine.
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
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 Did you vote?
No.
Any opposed?
Any opposed?
Any opposed?
Can I abstain with being here? Because I honestly don't know the correct answer. I'm
No,
not
you gotta
trying-
vote. That's what you were voted in for. You gotta make a decision.
For me, I'm good with everything now that I understand the cost impact and, we could have gone back to the original one, but I just didn't understand that.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming back and answering questions. Thank you.
No?
Yes. Yay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Jeremy, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeremy.
You did a very good job.
Thanks. Sorry for
presenting
calling
that.
you
Thank
Trevor. No one wants to be called Trevor.
Not even Trevor. I hated my name forever. It's a long story. I really hate my name. actually.
Okay, let's
I
go back
did.
to resolution 22-40 firefighters retirement system admission and intent to contribute.
You need me to give some.
Go ahead and give some information on that.
Okay. So with with this item, in fiscal year 2023,
I'm sorry.
all right.
What did you
I just
say?
want to make sure we were all here for a second. In fiscal year 2023, we had in the budget to make our fire chief full-time. With that budget increase, we also budgeted for his retirement benefits. As a public organization who participates in URS, we're required to pay into the public, the Utah Utah retirement system for each employee that meets the criteria of that system. So as we were going to submit his name into the system, we recognized we did not have access to the firefighters fund. So there's a public safety fund, but there's a firefighters fund that's separate from public safety. So we don't currently pay into the firefighters fund because we traditionally had a volunteer fire department that moved to a full-time, not a part-time fire department. Now we have one full-time member of our fire department who qualifies. In the firefighters fund, the qualifications for an employee to participate in the fund are 1, to have a full-time fire chief, and 2, to be fully trained in life-saving techniques as a firefighter and have some of your job responsibility performing those actions as a firefighter. So with our fire chief being a working fire chief at times, we're required to pay into the firefighters fund for him. Unfortunately, URS is a government entity, and so they don't make things easy. You can't just flip a switch and say, put me in this fund. We need to pass a resolution to submit with our application to the URS board for them to approve us to pay into the URS fund for firefighters. Now, what's different about the firefighter fund and the public safety fund is that a couple of years ago, they amended the regulations around Tier 2 employees. Tier 2 employees, employers are required to pay less into the retirement fund for those employees. Their retirement fund benefits are less than the Tier 1 employees in an effort to attract more people to the public safety and the firefighter positions. The state legislature is essentially made an option for the Tier 2 employees of firefighter funds to get compensated for their retirement at the same level as a Tier 1 firefighter. There's a lot of nuance around that, but basically what that means is they've raised the contribution limits from 12%. It's a little bit rough. There's some changes with this year. They've upped the rates a little bit, but about 12%. They raised that to about 14%, and then the city can opt to pay the additional 2% to make them a full level Tier 1 retirement benefited firefighter, but still fall on the Tier 2. It was a compromise of the bill. So that 2% is optional from the city. I will say with the city, we do pay 1.51% into our other employees' 401k. So there is compensation already being added on top of the retirement benefit that we currently pay into other employees. And so this is not outside of that realm of what is required there. But that 2% is an optional option from the city council. Currently, we don't anticipate actually an impact on the Tier 1 or Tier 2 employees because we don't have any Tier 2 employees eligible in our fire department. And that includes our fire chief. So he's a Tier 1 employee, but that decision to allow for Tier 2 employees isn't really dependent on our position for the fire. It's just they require us to make a decision with our application. If that makes any sense. I know there's a lot of bouncing, so I apologize.
That was my question. The Tier 2 doesn't apply to our other firefighters that aren't full-time.
No.
Wherever they're currently full-time, they're taking care of all that.
Correct.
So if we choose to do the Tier 2, it's only a future, if we ever get a Tier 2 employee, then we would.
So in the future, if we say a fire captain moves full-time in the future, and that fire captain falls into the tier 2 retirement fund, then we would have to,
So do we have to make that decision today, or can we just wait till that time?
we have to make that decision today. We can always choose to change that decision later if we so wish, but.
I would add that we don't choose whether employees are tier 1 or 2. That's based on when they became URS eligible. If you are full-time benefited employee before, I believe, July 1st or June 21st of 2011, you are tier 1. If you are full-time eligible after that, then you're tier 2 automatically. So that was a decision made a decade ago. So you don't choose whether they're tier 1 or 2. An employee could be new with us, but if they've been in the fire system for a long time, they may be a tier 1.
We just opt at the time when you're hiring that person full-time, if you're gonna pay him the extra up to the tier 1.
I think we make that decision now kind of across the board, but for all employees, it's not handpicked by employee. But again,
Are you
that-
asking to add the optional 2% at that time? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, you may want to pay your fire chief and your fire captain different than you would pay another tier 2. You may want the tier 2. I don't know. I don't know how you, but
Yeah,
I don't
it
know.
is a completely optional thing. Some cities, I would say a majority of the cities do participate in the additional 2% as a benefit for the firefighters and public safety, but that isn't a rule. If the employee wants to get up to that, then they would be responsible for that additional 2% in some way, shape, or form. So you could also amend it to be 1.51 to match the 401k amount that we put into and then put it that way. Or you can strike that altogether. They just have to have a decision one way or the other so that they can look at the application on what we're going to do. And I don't believe it'll put a bearing on whether they'll approve us or not. It's just.
So we have to approve something for our full-time employee.
Yes, we essentially are required to apply to URS so that we can put money into the URS system, and we need to choose whether we are going to do.
But our fire chief is tier 1.
Tier 1, so this
And
does
so
not
it
affect
doesn't
our
even
fire
affect
chief
our
at all.
full-time employees. We're making the decision for.
Do
who
we want
hire
to
in
treat
the
all of
future
our
if we
fire
do.
employees like they're a tier 1, regardless,
that's the
right? Then
decision.
that's the 2%. If you want to treat them all like our current employees and what you do there, then it's the 1.51%. Or if you want to leave it entirely up to the employee, if they want that, then you would do a 0 and just leave it at the 12%.
What's staff's recommendation?
I would say at least a 1.51 to match what we're currently putting in would make sense, and then not contribute that 1.51 to a 401k if that's how we choose to do that. Like we instead of putting it into a 401k, we just pay for their pension plan basically instead of the 401k plan. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest 1.51% for internal equity, but I would suggest the 2% for external equity. If we got to the point where we were trying to recruit or hire full-time employees and, more than just one, then that might be a point of difference between us and other departments, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So my question, the resolution language doesn't spell out any specific number other than just says subject to a maximum of 2% of compensation. Who defines and decides it?
So administratively, we can define what our additional contribution is.
Right. So I
up
guess
to the 2%. So
Yeah,
you
so
can put
so we're
a
just
max.
opening it up to a max per the current language, but you would actually decide whether it's a 1.51 or 2 or whatever.
Mhm.
So
We could do it that way. It's up to you to determine the max
Well,
that you're willing, and
that's
then
what I'm trying to say.
we can adjust
You
that.
say we can do it that way. I mean, the current language basically says that.
Mhm.
Right. The
So you're
current
saying we
language sets it
we
up
could
to
revise it
2%
to
if you
identify
suggest.
specifically something else, right?
Sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you.
No.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. The
Okay.
current language says max of 2%. If you wanted to suggest something underneath that, right, as has been discussed, then you could direct that now. Otherwise, it would be left up. to
And
the max
perhaps
of
we would
2%.
want to just update our own policy manual to reflect that that council desire on the 1.51 so that we have something to point to later in the future, just to cover bases when we're having conversations with future employees. Now, a firefighter only qualifies if they have an average of 2,080 hours, which is equivalent to full-time. Typically, firefighters can go over that. It's like 25 number. I can't remember the ancillary numbers on top of that, because a full-time firefighter will work, they can work up to 56 hours of.
When we move to the wildland program, will the engine boss be full-time?
Eventually.
So
Yes.
that would fairly pretty soon, we'll be looking at 2 full-time.
Depending on if that employee is tier 1 or tier 2.
Right.
And we don't have control over who can.
Right.
Right now, it would be tier 1,
Right.
right? So it wouldn't make any difference. If we approve the resolution as it's written right here, it gives you the approval to go up to 2%. We just leave it at that, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
But
So
is that individually, is that an individual basis or is that just policy?
No, that would be policy for.
Okay.
Yeah, we would make policy
Okay.
at that point and have you approve that policy.
So just to keep it simplified for me, if we vote yes, we're basically giving a 2% increase for this employee. It's going to be their own retirement, but we're talking about, or 1.5 or 1, whenever, we're giving a raise straight out during right now where everything is so tight.
We would be providing additional benefit, yeah. So it would be counted as their total compensation. So yes,
If we hired that individual.
if you hired it, yes.
This
They're
does
not
not
hired
apply to
now.
any current individuals that we have in the city. This is strictly a policy decision that would affect potentially future employees hired by the city and the fire department.
So are you thinking of using it as a benefit for working here? Or, because I'm a big fan of merit pay and that's about it. And right now, especially where things are so tight, I'm having a hard time deciding to go on and do this when we don't even have a person here, and it just kind of gives it a carte blanche of, okay, well, in 5 months when things are even worse, we've already set this up and they're going to get the increase when maybe we shouldn't be doing that this year.
A little bit of background is that the fire employees all received tier 1. That was just the only tier until about 10 years ago. And then they created this tier 2. It created a separate and lesser retirement benefit. And over the last few years, those tier 2 employees in the Utah retirement system, firefighters specifically, have gone to the state legislature and said that needs to be rectified and we need to be similar to tier 1. This was how that was created, to basically hand that decision over to the city. So rather than require everybody to treat all employees like a tier 1, they allow cities to choose if you will do that and give that additional 2% to basically make all employees as if they were tier 1. So that the only idea is that a benefit or not is, are you wanting to treat all fire employees the same as tier 1, or do you want to maintain that distinction? You're absolutely right. It's a strict benefits conversation.
It is, but the reason for the way I understand the reasoning for it in 2011, if you look back at all your pension funds, your national pension funds, all of that in 2011 all went into critical status. And so they came up with solutions to reduce some of those rates. So the newer guys these guys were already indentured and you can't change them. So, but they changed it for the newer guys. But then if you look at over that last little while, most of especially in Utah, the funds have all become green and they're not in the same critical status they used to be. And so they can contribute more. They should get the better benefit. It's it's something you deal on a union pension type thing all the time.
Some of the differences is that instead of requiring, so a tier 1 employee on a fire or public safety was 20 years till they could retire with full vestment. In the tier 2, it requires 25 years, which doesn't seem like, it seems like, well, that seems like fair, but what studies has shown is that there's a lot of burnout around year 20 with all of the things the firefighters and police burnout. Sorry, I didn't even think about that pun. Of what fire and public safety individuals face day to day, and so that's
But
one.
all the rules will still apply because they're still considered tier 2
Correct.
by the state. It's just the amount we're putting into that fund, I guess.
Right.
Correct. But we don't have any of those employees right now.
No, not currently.
So we really
So
aren't putting in any money until we do have one.
Correct.
Yeah, this is not a fiscal decision that impacts our budget right now.
Yeah.
This is a philosophical decision that would,
When do we look at hiring the trail boss?
When we get the trigger to say yes on whether we're going to do the wildland program.
No, that's already been done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that would,
so we're just waiting.
We're-
I thought we were waiting for
well,
equipment.
Well,
There's a whole set of rules and
we
or
won't have a
reasons where.
full-time
we don't-
engine boss probably till next fire season at the earliest.
Yes,
Okay.
and that's because
the
of,
next fire season being April, right?
Yeah, our next budget.
and that's
when
due
we
to
would talk about
availability of
whether we
that
do
personnel.
And that person may or may not be a tier 2 employee.
Okay, somebody like to make a motion? Excuse me.
No, sir.
Does
everybody
Oh, you
agree
did?
with the 1.51 for internal and 2 for external?
I am.
Do we need to put that in our motion, or you're just gonna do that automatically?
If you would like to do the 151, I think this language stays the same, but the direction would be put that in the policy
the policy
manual,
manual.
right? That the resolution allows up to 2% and we're choosing 1.51 because that's an amount that already goes to employees in the city.
I'll take a shot at. Mayor, make a resolution that we approve resolution, or I move a motion that we approve resolution 22-40 firefighters retirement system admission and intent to contribute with a request that we update our policy manual that internal contributions equal similar to whatever the city internal is, which currently is 1.51, and for external, the 2% or whatever is the concurrent external amount.
I don't agree with that. Sorry.
Well, no, can I ask a point of clarification? Just,
Is it 22?
is it, what is
dash-
the number of it? So the addendum says 22-40 on the agenda. The resolution itself says 22-42. It should be 40. So
40.
he said it correctly.
Okay.
So you want the internal contribution, 1.51%.
Or whatever our current amount is at the time, 5 years from now, or whenever it kicks in.
Can you clarify the difference between internal and external?
They staff of employees, like your definition that you made. You said that for our internal people, we do 1.51. But for a tier 1, they get 2 because that's the external expectation. No?
So not exactly.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood then.
Yeah, so right now, we don't have any fire employees. So all employees that are eligible for URS are receiving the 1.51%. Regardless of whether they're tier 1 or tier 2, that's the city contribution to a 401k. This is
Okay.
as a benefit.
So I removed my motion.
Sorry.
So you can do the same thing.
Right.
You can approve this resolution with the up to the 2%
And then.
and staff update the policy to approve to the 1.51
Yep.
as they deem, but they can go up to the 2 still. And
If the,
if
yeah, if the intent is to have the fire employees be treated the
The
same
same.
way as all other city employees, then yeah, the 1.51% put in the
So
policy.
I misunderstood, I guess, when you were talking, because I thought you said for the comparison to other fire departments, we need the 2%,
Yes.
but to our internal, and so I thought you were saying.
Let me explain that a little bit
Okay.
better, sorry. when the legislature was talking about this, there was communication among cities about what they intended to do. Were they going to pay the 2%? Were they going to put that onto the city employees, the firefighters, for them to pay that out of pocket to be treated as if they were tier 1? And I don't know the exact number, but there was a large number, majority of cities that said, we will take on that 2%. We will be the ones as an organization to treat all employees, whether they're tier 1 or tier 2, equally as fire employees. And therefore, we will do the 2%. So what I meant was, if we want to, at some point in the future, hire tier 2 fire employees and not offer the full 2%, then that potentially is a reduced level of benefit in comparison to other fire departments.
So it's a recruitment tool.
But if you approve this, it allows you to go up to that 2%.
Yes. So if you want to leave it at 2% language as is, if you want to state it as the 1.51% so that all city employees have that same amount, then direct that to be put into the policy manual, and we would bring that back as a policy manual amendment. And then in the future, if that you wanted to change that for fire employees to move, then you'd be able to simply change the policy manual language.
And right now, currently, the fire department doesn't receive anything.
Correct. The firefighters need to work on average 280 hours a year in the firefighter capacity in order to qualify. And none of our
Right.
firefighters work more
2,000
than
and
2,000.
2,080.
what did I say?
280.
Oh, yes, 2,080, not 280. That is a lot less.
Okay, so again, right now, the city workers, the staff, public works, all of that, they have a 1.5 going into their retirement. And that's not a matching fund, that's just it, right?
So
It's a yes or no, please.
yes.
Okay. So this would just be making the fire department at 1.5 equal to the city, or to, if we wanted to try to compete with other cities for this new position. Yes or no?
Yes.
That's how I understood it too.
Okay.
Okay,
thank you.
not to convolute, but we're talking 12% to 14%? Does that have nothing to do with what you just talked about?
Yes, so
The 14%.
Wait, what?
The 14%, so they have rates from URS. They say this
Okay.
is the rate that you have to contribute for your employee. So around 14% is the firefighters portion that we're required to pay, no matter what.
Okay,
Now, in addition to that, we can choose to pay up to 2% to essentially match them with a tier 1 employee
okay, that's what,
as a bargaining chip for our recruitment, is what the state gave us.
thank you. That changes the numbers from 1% of pay to 20%, or no, not 20. Whoa,
Don't add more numbers to
Whoa.
it.
14.
Quinn, you want to try again?
I just want to leave it as is and don't put all the stipulations on it. Let you guys decide that later, but sure. But if you don't, if somebody wants to do it.
I'm gonna say the same thing I told Joel, you gotta make a decision.
Exactly.
All right.
My decision is to take it as is. Okay, I move that we accept. Is that right?
Approve.
Approve. Resolution 22-40 firefighter retirement system admission and intent to contribute as written with the up to 2%.
Seconded.
Well, let's see, we'll do a roll call vote, starting with Councilman Howerson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Petty.
No.
Ah, shit.
Aye.
Sorry. Hot mic. Aye.
Bill?
No, not at this time.
Okay, so I think that was 3 ayes and 2 noes. Okay.
What did you say? Okay.
Ayes in favor, so motion will carry. Where are we at? Discussion item.
Staff, could we get anything with math earlier
we-
on the agenda?
Can we have a bathroom break real quick? Like, I'll be so fast, you'll be blown away. How fast?
Okay,
Okay.
all in favor for a bathroom break?
Aye, but I'm not gonna be
Let's
fast.
take a short recess.
Just kidding.
Yes, thank you.
I was here. Ivan, when you.
One of the public comments during the planning commission.
Rob did.
With his wife.
Okay, because he acted like he'd never heard before.
That's Rob.
Yeah, he was acting a lot of it.
He, when Ivan did it here, he came in about 5 minutes later.
I mean, his reaction.
He's the professor now.
I know, huh? I think I understand.
Great.
Well,
He and I have almost this spot 2 or 3 times. I mean, that's the only guy saying stuff we've read ever. Had to tell me to go.
That's not what I used to. Oh,
did he really?
See your face.
Tonight. Right here.
No, it's more.
Yeah.
Well, he's got 90 days to perform, so let's see what he does. I think that's great.
Oh, I think he'll figure it out. I think he'll figure it out.
So I'm overjoyed that 90 days, like. He's gonna have to get out.
Not just gonna give it water.
Yeah, I need more water.
And he'll come straight out.
I did a flare. I did that.
So that's why any request for us, we got to.
It's not too bad. Not too bad.
Well, that's why I don't know if that's accurate. I know.
When would you like to do
Did Jamie show you my email? Okay. You have to, after reading. Okay. Because I was
Because I'm sure.
Should be. And if you guys, that kind of home. I'm just, understanding.
Yeah, I don't think that they need that.
No, but I'm just saying.
Yes, yes. Right, it is. It is.
So when somebody is hired on, they have to make that selection. Thanks a lot. I wish it would be that.
I'll second my drawer here.
Okay, our next item is, discussion on planning commission. Stipend.
Dipping,
Is that right?
stipend.
Stipend? I had to look that up. So you can see what that-
I would like to hear the person who brought this up for discussion items opinion on the issue.
I'm assuming you mean me, and I'm happy to talk about it.
Yep.
Okay, so as it states in our summary, we brought this up as a discussion and then we said no, but I felt like even if we say no to the city council increase, that the planning commission warrants an increase. And if there are those on planning commission who choose to decline that increase, then that's their prerogative. But I feel like we should at least make that be the standard, because those individuals on there now may not be there in a couple of years. And I don't know when this will be brought up again. So I feel like it's warranted to increase that.
The 150?
Yes.
Is that what you're proposing?
Knowing that it will have a public hearing for that, I'm totally fine with that process. And I appreciate staff and the attorney saying we need to make sure we have the correct procedure, because we haven't been doing it. So I think it's great.
We have 150.
Joel, what's your thoughts?
I've said from the beginning, I think that service shouldn't be a detriment to the people doing it. I think it's difficult to take ourselves out of the position when we're looking on city council, but I think now we're looking at others and seeing what they need to do. I do think there's a level of appreciation. And I don't think we're talking about a huge amount or a huge increase that would ever even be noticed, but there are, when you look at the various planning commissions out there, there are actually, I think, about 3 cities that don't pay theirs at all. It's just straight volunteer, and they're basically in there for life. So they have their own reasons for doing it, and it's their way of doing service. I don't agree with that. I think I could see $100. I mean, it's hard for me to want to give a raise to somebody who doesn't want a raise. So to have some people say it, regardless of what their reasoning was for it, that's kind of difficult. But I just still go back. I would never mistreat somebody who is giving service. And I think that applies to the planning commission as well.
Well, I actually heard from one member of the Admin and Finance Committee. I would love to hear from our other Admin and Finance Committee. I'm just gathering more information from those who are directly involved, more so than me.
So I got 2 thoughts on it. One, since there's a public hearing, I'm fine putting it before our citizens. Personally, anytime there's a change, my first question is, well, why was it set that way to begin with? You know, too often in my work, people want to change things because it sounds good and they didn't look and realize why it was the way it was to begin with. So somebody decided the amount for planning commission is what it is relative to the amount for city council at some point. And maybe that's based on the number of hours or the effort that was expected to put in. So I think there's probably a reason it's as low as it is. The other thought I have on that is, at what value does it become value, you know, beyond serving? And so, you know, if you put it to $150, is that going to make more people want to run or not? You know, I don't see $150 bringing in twice as many applicants. And so I struggle with, well, okay, do we have to put it up to, 500, 1,000, how high do you have to go to get more applicants? Or what's the purpose of the stipend? Is it just to, provide them some reimbursement for their time and efforts? And so those are my thoughts. I personally don't know that 150 is going to be more than a goodwill gesture, but I don't think it's going to bring in a higher quality or more candidates. So those are my thoughts. I'm welcome to hearing from the public and what they think.
So I was just kind of trying to think about, because I know when the planning commission members brought up, there was a former commission or a planning commission member on a former city who mentioned that theirs wasn't even that much. But I think it's important to also consider the place where each city is. We are a growing city, and there's a lot that is coming to our planning commission because we are growing. On the flip side, I also know that we're slowing down. And so there's a good chance that these big packets that they've been seeing over the last year is going to drop dramatically or drop significantly. So it's hard for me to not put a number with the amount of time that they're investing, and that's just so variable. I appreciate what Joel's saying as it being a gesture of appreciation of sorts. But I also agree with Quinn on, is it really going to make that big of a difference, an extra $75? But right now, an extra $75 does make kind of a big difference. So I'm all over the place. I'm having a hard time. And kind of feeling like Joel, where you just kind of want to abstain because you don't know what to do. So I don't know, Blair, where are you at?
Hey, maybe it wasn't my turn yet.
It is your turn.
I did, the number 69, right? Currently, the number makes 0 sense to me. I mean, it's odd. There had to have been a formula or something in their mind that they came up with.
And is it 60? It's 69 per meeting or per month or
Per month.
per month? Okay.
Lisa, why'd they come up with, or Michelle, why'd they come up with that number?
Quarterly, so it's actually 189.
It's 189 a quarter.
Which is still
They haven't
kind of,
always been paid. They was volunteer.
Quite some time. And I mean, I follow on the line with Quinn saying I'm okay because it's going to the public. I know, obviously, the planning commission can reject it if they don't want it and abstain from getting paid. So the $150, I'm okay with. I mean, I would be okay if it was 100 too, because I don't think the difference is going to make a difference on whether we get applicants or not. It isn't. It's just not it would have to be a much more significant number. And so it's just 69 doesn't make any sense to me. I would be in favor of taking it to 100 before I would say, just make it a round number and easy to deal with and it's done. But so I'm open to either 150 or 100. But
Well, is that something that could be held off until the public hearing, or do we have to have a dollar value
yeah, that has to be, Mac has to put it in the budget
for the
right?
public hearing?
For the public hearing.
I thought this was separate from the budget, is what we found. Jamie.
No, our current city code talking about the establishment of the rate for planning commission does not jive with state code. So regardless of the number you pick tonight, you'll have city code language coming forward that will update that so it matches state code. So you pick whatever number you want, that will come forward and we have to put it in city code what the number is.
So it's a code change instead.
Oh, it
but
is.
We'll have a public comment at that time.
But it still has to go in the budget.
Yeah.
Yes, regardless
So
of
we
your
have a-
decision tonight, it will
we're
be part of the
codifying. Is it codifying? Codifying?
budget. Codify.
I swear it should be codified. Anyway, now I forgot what I was even going to say. We're codifying and we're going to have a budget amendment. Am I right?
Yes, so on on August 23rd, after the Truth in Taxation hearing, you will have a public hearing for this piece of city code to establish the rate. And then you would be adopt that code. You'd also be adopting the final city budget on that same meeting, during that same meeting.
I don't like the idea of putting it to the public because we had some very vocal people that were very much against it. We had some people that were for it. And
And what number do you want to put out?
We have to put a number to
So
it.
we meet twice a month, they meet once a month,
Mhm.
and if we're at, what, 300? Is that right?
Mhm.
And then half.
So half would be 150? I mean, there's some mathematical logic, but do they not have as much time required outside of it? They're not in all the committee meetings.
Right. I
What you
think,
saying, Michelle?
I think the point is not to get more, necessarily more applicants. Obviously, we'd love more applicants, right? But I think it's just to almost more of a token of appreciation for doing it. I mean, everybody here knows that that is a thankless position. I mean, some of their packets are 300 pages, and Haley brings a point, you know, in 10 years, maybe they'll be 30 pages, but in 10 years, that $150 is still going to be basically free,
$1.50.
right? So to me, I'm thinking $150 is really not that much, but it's enough to give these people compensation and appreciation for their time. I don't know. I don't know. 300 pages is a lot to go through, especially when you're looking at plans and review, you know, site reviews and all that stuff. So I don't feel like it's that big of an ask, quite frankly.
Is my math right? Is 150 times 5 times 12, $9,000? Does that sound right? Because I'm terrible. I usually always
The
mess up.
additional amount is just under 5,000.
The additional amount is just, yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. It's $1,000 times 5, basically.
See, guys, I always mess it up. So what is it again? How much is it
It's an
extra?
additional roughly $5,000 to
A
the
year.
budget, a year
Okay.
total to the budget.
Okay.
Which
In perspective, we give Country Fair Days just a little bit more than that, just recently. Just in perspective.
In perspective, city manager could approve less, or 5,000.
Less than 5,000.
Dave.
No, I'm in perspective.
Dave's on a sabbatical.
Oh.
Well, I think the other item, and you kind of brought it up originally, Angie, was the two were lumped together. And we got a lot of pushback about giving ourselves a raise, quote unquote. But by breaking this out, we're not giving ourselves a raise. And so it could be looked at maybe differently to the public. Having separate.
I just have one last question. Let's say we throw it out there for 150 and nobody shows and nobody says a word. Does that change anybody's mind here?
Nope. If nobody says anything,
Nobody complains.
No, nobody is in favor of it and nobody is opposed to it. They just,
there's
nobody
zero
shows.
public comment.
Zero.
I still would support 150.
I would still support it.
All right, I am okay with throwing out 150 on a public hearing.
So let it be.
So that'd be written.
New business. Anyone have any new business? Dave, any new business?
Yeah, no, what?
Report, council report?
In the spirit of trying to save money wherever possible, we were talking today in the Parks Committee about some of the ways that we might be able to do some of the upgrades that we're looking for in the parks a little bit more financially, well, heck, free. What we're looking is trying to see if we couldn't have two different types of service projects, if you will. One would be having a service day in which all of the fine South Weaver residents who would be willing to put their muscle and their back and maybe a shovel or two into supporting some of the parks instead of raising some of the funds for it. So instead of paying a company to come in and say, put in a chain link fence and to level off some area, that maybe instead they'd be willing to put in some sweat equity instead into our own parks in our own city. And on a similar note, we're also looking at an adopt a park. It was brought up as an example, the Veterans Memorial Park, and it's very difficult right now for our public works to be able to weed all of the parks, get everything all done, fix all of the sprinklers, make all of the other changes that are going on, get ready for South Weaver Days. And there's just so much that is demanding of their time that we'd like to try to think about an adopt a park program in which a family, an organization, a local business could adopt the entrance to one of the parks and beautify it, whether that's just doing weeds or planting some plants or, whatever they want on that. The Memorial Park, obviously, we've got that beautiful memorial right there, and they would take it upon them to keep the weeds out of it all the time, and maybe go down there every weekend or whatever, work the need would be. And we'd have different parks, or people could give suggestions of different areas of the city that they would like to adopt. We've talked about everything from nameplates to signs, saying who's doing what. And it's just kind of a way to have all of the residents who would like to donate some of their time and effort to help beautify our parks in our city. So those are two of the ideas we've been looking at. We would ask for families to be willing to fully commit to either a 3-month or a 6-month type of rotation, or longer if they wanted to stick with one that they've enjoyed. While our budget isn't growing, and in parks we definitely are kind of limited on what we can do, we would sure love the public support on this, and I think this is a great way to do it. So that's one of the areas we were looking at, and I think we're going to start putting that program together. I was looking at a bunch of the other cities that are doing it right now and how they're setting it up. So it will take a little bit of the website to be able to go on and pick which park and those kind of things. But I think it's a good idea. So those were the mayor's ideas, by the way. I don't want to steal his thunder.
I think it's great.
Good. On the update side, we did meet with the train club. We did a complete walkthrough of the park over there, all of the changes that need to be made, some things that needed to be upgraded, both the city's responsibilities and the train club's responsibility. We had a good meeting and a great walkthrough. So we've got a contract that will be put together, and based on everything from the city side and from the train side, I think it's going to be a really good representation of all the expectations that we have, and they're excited. Matter of fact, they want to do some improvements already before this year is over. So we look forward to seeing that. And that's it.
Thank you, Joe. Amy?
PR committee met today and we discussed the 9/11 memorial for the. Why do we do these so late? I can't ever keep my words right by this time. For the memorial event that no, the Day of Remembrance. Day of Remembrance, thank you. That will be happening at Davis Conference. No, sorry, the fairgrounds, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
I should get that right. The fairgrounds. So we kind of discussed what we want to do. I think we need to have 2 4x8 displays. We're checking on that for sure. We talked about maybe finding a satellite image from around roughly that time, similar to, I guess, 2002 behind us. But also we found some newspaper clippings from that same time frame, some pictures from country fair days and things that we thought we could display as well. Let's see, I think that's it for PR, really.
I vote for
Um,
writing the buffalo picture. That was
Yeah, I
awesome.
know,
It's
right?
amazing.
I,
I need a buffalo.
liability issues just made all our fun go away. And then code committee, we met, we discussed, we thought we had a really simple, thing to update as far as the newest traffic studies, but it turns out that that turned into a big string of stupid Christmas lights that are all in a big knot. So we have,
It was
we have
Jamie's
some-
fault, not mine.
we have some more work to do on that as far as just kind of some things that have been brought up, as far as like our traffic studies will usually tell us like the traffic numbers, but we have concerns about how are children going to get to school safely or something to that degree. And we haven't had any ability to require them to do anything with the way our code is written. There is ways for us to create something that would allow us to have, or the planning commission actually, to have that kind of jurisdiction of wanting some upgrades to safety as well as just the updated traffic standards. And then we also have been discussing the R7. That one's really difficult. It's just been really difficult to figure out what it is that we want to do. It feels like everything has unintended consequences. We're trying to figure out which would be the most beneficial for the city, and it's been difficult, but we are going to look into some more other cities and possibly some grants from Wasatch Front Regional Council that can help us with planning, that can help some of the situations that we're trying to solve. So, Paul, I just wanted to update you on your minutes. I checked on the website, and both the packet and the addendum packet are both still available.
Yeah.
They're separate links. It's just packet and then the addendum. So packet pulls up the regular 300 and then addendum just pulls up just the traffic study and the firefighters huge thing we just discussed. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know that. I think that's it.
I don't have any new updates.
The Municipal Utility Committee met last week, and we are waiting to hear back on companies who can do the, gosh, it is late, geotech. And I'll update you when we get more. Thanks.
Nothing to.
The only report that I have is, as the council discussed previously about kind of the beta test of porta potties in the parks this summer. Those have been placed. If you notice, there's one at Memorial Park, there's one in Cedar Cove, there's one at Canyon Meadows Park West, and there's also one at the Old Maple Farms Detention Basin. So we'll see what type of usage they get, and if that's something we'd like to continue.
I don't know who's
doing that.
We're only checking that through.
Angie's on that one.
Don't have too many
Get a
questions
measure.
about that.
It looks like,
I have had a few comments on the placement of the one at Memorial Park, literally on South Weaver Drive. We might want to look at someplace, I don't know where.
That one was a very tricky one because
So many homes.
to keep it off of, it
Grass.
needs a cement pad. And the
Uh-huh.
only place that's not actually in the road that has a cement pad that's on the
'Cause
sidewalk.
Did they actually fasten them down? Or are they just on a cement pad?
I was told that they were fastened down, but
That's good,
but
because I worried about,
Yeah,
like,
they
like the one at Memorial Park looks like on a bad wind day, it would not be a good day.
I was told they were fastened down,
Okay.
although those types of fastenings with a little bit of effort might
Yeah,
be toppled. So that's also something we're going to just watch. Knowing that we've had some vandalism in our permanent restroom facilities at parks, we want to hopefully not create additional targets.
toilet tippers.
Thank you.
Mayor, that was I'll make this quick. I attended the UDOT I-84-89 interchange meeting not too long ago. I just wanted to update you on kind of the process that they're at right now. We saw some concepts of how to mitigate some of the local concerns with adding extra lanes for travel. I'm not going to show you some of those examples because I don't want people to get too excited we're wound up about anything because nothing is finalized yet. But we're at the very beginning stage. In 2 months, they're going to come back with a little bit more information. But an idea is to add a bypass of the lower sections to keep local traffic and the commuter traffic separate. So.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trevor. For motion to-
Mayor, sorry, I have one more thing. I just need to clarify for Country Fair Day. I forgot this one. Does everybody plan to be there Monday night to serve?
Yes,
And you will not be for the parade?
I will not be here for the
And will
parade.
you not be for the parade? You will be here. Okay, and you?
I'll be there.
Okay, for both.
Yeah. So
Okay.
what do we?
So Monday night,
Writing down the parade.
I don't know. We need to figure that out.
Blair's not here.
Blair has left us.
I'm
at
sure I
the
can
creek
get you
without
a
a paddle.
trailer if you need one, but I'm sure that beautiful truck of yours would pull it.
I can pull it.
You have to be on the trailer with us.
Yeah.
You need to find somebody else to pull.
My daughter drove usually, or my wife would
Carrie
drive.
would drive us, yeah.
You have lots of kids.
Yeah.
Pick one.
Lincoln,
Ask
Lincoln
one.
could drive.
Don't give him the option.
I had someone 2 days ago offer to let me drive their 2022 mid-engine Corvette.
We won't fit in that.
Was it white?
Can we put,
I
All right,
saw
we're
it.
getting
Yes.
sidetracked here now.
no, what if we all wore rollerblades?
Stay on point, people.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, so Blair's offering his trailer and we're gonna
I
find a
just,
driver for
I
Rod's
just need
truck.
to know if you do need it and the signs and everything.
Will you be needing it?
No, I'll just drop it off wherever you want it,
Okay.
but I just need to know.
That is greatly appreciated.
So-
Thank you, Blair.
Mayor, can I give it to you to find a driver for your truck and
have-
we'll plan on that?
Yeah.
Okay, so lineup for the parade is at 10:30. We're usually at the very front. And then,
We
Ooh,
park
I-
right at, and you park right at the road, is that a Fisherman Act? Well, no,
mhm.
yeah, you just park
Mhm.
right there on the corner and load up. That way you're the first, right behind the firefighters.
And then bring BYOBC. Bring your own balloons and candy
Balloons, candy, and water.
and water. And anything else you want to throw, I guess? Shoes or socks, I don't know.
And more candy than you think.
More candy than you think. And then,
Half of it till we're happy.
yeah, yeah. And then Monday evening, I believe it's at 6. I will send a text out to everybody to be there. Sorry, I feel like I'm like leaving you out of my little, to serve.
Okay.
It will be warm, so dress accordingly.
Saturday starts at 9.
Saturday, no, 10:30 is,
10:30.
I like service.
the parade starts at 11, so lineup is at 10:30. It is a later one. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. I forgot.
Mayor, I make a motion, we adjourn?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.